Chapter 686. Battlefield Number 8. Aolai, are we still going to fight? Monk Sand retracted his aura and looked at Aolai with a smile. No, no. Aolai waved his hand. We've been together for tens of thousands of years, and I've long grown tired of sparring. We know each other's backgrounds and have the same strength. If there was a winner, it would have been decided long ago. That's right. In that case, why don't we just watch? When the competition ends, we'll decide the winner with rock, paper, scissors, Monk Sand said with a smile. That's a good idea. Aolai was overjoyed. He agreed wholeheartedly. Haha, the 4 disciples of the All-Heavens Shop are too willful. They're a family after all. Strength is the prerequisite for willfulness. That's true. The focus isn't on them anyway. On the Star Ocean Plaza, the experts noticed the situation in battlefields number 7 and 8 and couldn't help but twitch their mouths. Rumble. Fierce battles were taking place in battlefields number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 6. However, the battles came quickly, and so did the trend. Whether it was Chienseng Island's Gu Mo, Divine Path Mountains Tian Ruo, Floating Island Sexuan Bay, or Dragon Spring Sex Corpse C, they were all clearly being suppressed by the disciples of the All-Heavens Shop. Looking at battlefields 4 and 5, there was still no movement. Brother Shao and Brother Sun have it tough. These 2 immortal emperors are the first to meet, Tang San said with a smile as he looked at the 2 battlefields. There's still an entire realm apart after all. It seems like there's only a fine line between immortal emperors and peak immortal emperors, but there's actually a chasm between them. Now that they've met, we'll have to face these 2 immortal emperors in the next round. Golden Cicada shook his head with a helpless expression. This is going to be difficult. Don't be sad, Brother Jean. So what if they take the first 2 places? As long as we take the 3rd to 12th places, according to the rules of the competition, the Genesis Immortal Sect will still fall behind the All-Heavens Shop, Tang San said. That's true. But it still doesn't feel good to see the first 2 places fall into their hands, Golden Cicada replied. Tang San fell silent. He felt the same way. It wasn't that they were weak, but that their opponents were too strong. They were immortal emperors. In the face of absolute strength, all methods were futile. Battlefield 4. Hung Jun placed both of his hands behind his back. With a relaxed manner, he calmly watched Xiao Yan. What? Why aren't you admitting defeat and leaving? Could it be that you want to fight with me? Finally, Hung Jun broke the silence on the battlefield. He spoke first with disdain in his voice. Admit defeat? The All-Heavens Shop never had such a term. Even if we can't win, we still have to fight. Xiao Yan shook his head. As his indifferent voice faded, his aura suddenly soared. Following that, there was a deafening rumble as raging flames gushed out from his body and engulfed the entire battlefield in an instant. Amidst the flames, various runes of the Great Tao appeared. Monarch techniques emerged one after another. At the same time, a huge crimson-red pill-shaped object appeared behind Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan took a step back. When he fused with the pill-shaped object, his body underwent an earth-shattering transformation. His long black hair instantly turned crimson red. Terrifying flames lingered at the tip of his hair. They danced there, releasing dazzling runes. His aura was oppressive. In the end, the enormous pill-shaped object transformed. It continued to shrink until it turned into a battle suit that was filled with spirals. It tightly adhered to the surface of Xiao Yan's body. There was a churning galaxy surging within it as a frightening, unusual phenomenon was formed. So what if you're an immortal emperor? I'm not afraid. Come and fight. Vigorous and high-spirited voices reverberated on the battlefield. Xiao Yan was the first to attack. With a slap, raging flames carrying the Supreme Emperor's Tao covered the stars and surged towards Hung Jun. Battlefield 5. Sun Wukong, do you know that the staff in your hand was made by me? Hun Kun pointed at the Rui Jingyu Bang in Sun Wukong's hand. It's no longer the original staff. Sun Wukong waved the Jingyu Bang in his hand. As his voice faded, layers of strange threads appeared on the surface of the staff. Interesting. Han Kun seemed to have noticed something. He had a playful look on his face. So you've completely merged it with your Tao. However, it's still very strenuous to use it against an immortal emperor. Sun Wukong spun the Rui Jingyu Bang and shook his head. Since you've realized this, will you choose to give up the battle with me, or will you make the same choice as that guy? Han Kun pointed in the direction of Battlefield 4 and looked at Sun Wukong with a smile. Old Taoist, didn't you hear what Brother Shao said? My All-Heaven shop has never admitted defeat. Sun Wukong's eyes narrowed. His expression suddenly turned cold. He raised the Jingyu Bang in his hand and pointed it at Han Kun. You and I came from West Earth. We should belong to the same sect. However, because you've made a different choice, I can only teach you a lesson. Han Kun's voice became low. If we were born in the same era, I'm afraid you wouldn't have the right to say that. Sun Wukong let out a cold laugh. The entire battlefield seemed to be crushed by a terrifying force. Countless stellar regions were compressed together, turning into mini light balls that floated around Sun Wukong. Rumble! With a swing of the Jingyu Bang, these light balls containing endless power of the stars blasted towards Han Kun. If I hadn't made a breakthrough, I might have to be more cautious against such an attack. I might not even be able to take it. It's just that you're still too weak for now. Han Kun was expressionless as he looked at the light balls with terrifying aura. He didn't retreat at all. As soon as he finished speaking, Han Kun casually extended his palm. Suddenly, an immortal emperor law that was above the great perfection immortal emperor level appeared and intertwined to form a huge net. Everyone watched as Sun Wukong's terrifying attack landed on the huge net. It instantly turned into a rain of light and disappeared into nothingness. Sun Wukong didn't look surprised when he saw this. Instead, he looked even more solemn. Han Kun didn't say anything. He pointed his finger again. A seemingly simple finger light instantly appeared in front of Sun Wukong and was about to pierce through him. Sensing the energy fluctuations contained in the finger light, Sun Wukong's pupils suddenly constricted. His entire body was instantly enveloped by a grayish-white light. At the same time, a pill-shaped object appeared in front of him. It emitted a supreme divine light as it prepared to meet Han Kun's finger light. Boom! There was an earth-shattering explosion. Strange phenomena appeared as immortal emperor power spread out. When the two collided, the pill-shaped object that was originally spinning crazily instantly stopped. Crack! In the next moment, there was a crisp sound. Under everyone's gaze, the huge pill-shaped object actually began to crack. Tiny cracks appeared as if it was about to explode. Almost at the same time, Sun Wukong's face turned pale, and his breathing became chaotic. Chapter 687. On the Other Side. Battlefield Number 4. Xiao Yin, who was also facing an immortal emperor, was not having a good time either. There was blood hanging from the corner of his mouth. The raging flames that were originally lingering around his body had been mostly extinguished, and his power was obviously weaker. Sure enough, no matter how strong a great perfection stage cultivator is, he is far from being a match for an immortal emperor. They are not on the same level at all. If it were me, there would be no need for this battle. I would choose to surrender directly, which would be straightforward. Haven't you noticed that the disciples of the All-Heavens shop are very strong? It's a pity that there is a big gap between them and their opponents. In my opinion, even if Xiao Yan and Sun Wukong are defeated today, it's nothing. With their ability, they will also enter the Immortal Emperor realm one day. At that time, we will know who is stronger between them and Hong Jun and Han Kun. On the Star Ocean Square, the eyes of all the powerhouses were focused on the two major battlefields, number 4 and number 5. When they saw the situation on the battlefields, they spoke one after another. Even the other battlefields that were originally fiercely fighting had obviously slowed down their attack speed since the start of the battles on the 4th and 5th battlefields. Obviously, they were also very concerned about the situation on these two battlefields. Although the result is already predetermined, if it were us, I'm afraid we wouldn't admit defeat either. Aolai looked at Monk Sha and said, Of course. There is only defeat, how can there be surrender? Monk Sha narrowed his eyes and looked at the situation on the 4th and 5th battlefields. There was actually some fighting spirit in his eyes. On the round platform. Fellow Taoist Chu, are you not going to make a move? If you don't speak, your 2 disciples will probably continue to fight to the death. Although there is immortal Emperor Lan Hui, and your disciples will not be in danger of dying, if they are seriously injured, it will take at least 10,000 years to recover. To be honest, this is actually an unnecessary battle. The Empress under the moon paced in front of Chu Bei, and her clear voice sounded. They have already been defeated. This is meaningless. The Genesis primordial spirit looked at Chu Bei. I am not as good as you, but in terms of training disciples I win. Chu Bei looked at the Empress under the moon and the Genesis primordial spirit one after another, and smiled faintly. I don't have to worry about my disciple, you can continue to watch the battle. Upon hearing Chu Bei's words, the Genesis primordial spirit's face turned slightly ugly, and she said, If my disciple injures your disciple, please don't vent your hatred on me. Chu Bei smiled and no longer paid attention to the Genesis primordial spirit. Instead, he focused his gaze on the disciples on the battlefield. At the same time, he used his divine thought to connect to the system panel. Right at this moment, the bodies of Yifan, Chen Nan, Shihao, Tang San, Xiao Yan, Sun Wukong, Zhu Beiji, Golden Cicada, Monk Sha, and Ao Lai trembled at the same time. A familiar voice rang out in their sea of consciousness. Disciples, all of you have already reached the peak stage of the half-immortal Emperor realm, and you are only a step away from the true immortal Emperor realm. Now I will bestow upon you another opportunity, allowing you to truly step into this realm. Of course, there is a time limit. In this period of time, the more you comprehend, the less time it will take for you to step into this realm in the future. Chu Bei's calm voice reverberated in the minds of the 10. Before Yifan, Chen Nan, and the others came back to their senses, they saw a wisp of mysterious light enter their sea of consciousness. In the next moment, a shocking scene appeared. In battlefield number 4, Hong Jun had one hand behind his back, and the other hand was constantly waving, casually striking out one attack after another. But even so, under these seemingly careless attacks, Xiao Yan was still forced to retreat, his aura increasing. However, just as another terrifying attack containing the power of an immortal emperor was about to strike Xiao Yan, a wisp of resplendent light inexplicably appeared on the surface of Xiao Yan's body. Chi! With an ear-piercing sound, Hong Jun's attack landed on this resplendent light, and it was as if a wisp of flame entered the sea, instantly annihilated. Hong Jun seemed to have sensed that something was amiss, and his eyes narrowed as he stared at Xiao Yan, a hint of confusion between his brows. Rumble! Before Hong Jun could figure out the reason, the void above Xiao Yan's head began to stir, and a strange scene appeared. That's the immortal Emperor Tribulation! How is that possible? The expressions of the immortal emperors on the round platform changed drastically when they saw the ripples in the void above Xiao Yan's head. Rumble! In battlefield number 4, the strange ripples spread out in the distant starry sky, and a dazzling light appeared. Amidst the rumbling, a violent and terrifying aura spread out, and then the Emperor's flower fell like snowflakes, with faint drops of red blood appearing. In the next moment, flames of various colors surged out from the gap, accompanied by mysterious runes. Some of the runes carried the aura of life, while others seemed to have come from the 9 Netherworld Palace, filled with the aura of death. Whether it was the former or the latter, they all carried the supreme power of an immortal emperor. The flames surged, accompanied by various mysterious lightning tribulations, and covered the sky and earth. With a loud bang, the area where Xiao Yan was instantly submerged. Ah! Then, Xiao Yan let out a loud cry, and then his figure became blurry. He was resisting the tribulation in the sea of fire and lightning. It's really the immortal Emperor Tribulation. He has taken that step. What a monster! How did he do it? Could it be that he broke through during the battle? It was Hong Jun who made him. On the Star Ocean Square, all the powerhouses and even the immortal emperors focused their attention on the blurry figure in battlefield number 4, who was resisting the tribulation in the lightning. Their faces were filled with astonishment. Hongjun stood aside and did not make a move. Like the powerhouses on the square, he stared at Xiaoyan, frowning slightly as if he was thinking about something. As time passed, the distant starry sky turned red, and the roar was deafening. Silver snakes danced wildly, and lightning was everywhere in the sea of fire. It was like a sea of blood. Brontosaurus with the power of an immortal emperor filled the sky. There was not only one, but hundreds and thousands of them. Each lightning was accompanied by a blooming emperor's Dao flower, dancing wildly in the void. At this moment, Xiaoyan stood in the middle of the immortal emperor tribulation and kept shouting excitedly. Looking at him, the flaming pill-shaped object in his body was spinning wildly. While resisting the emperor tribulation, it was also crazily absorbing the energy that could be used for itself. Xiaoyan punched out again and again, bombarding the lightning in the sea of fire. Rumble! However, just as everyone's attention was gathered on Xiaoyan's body, the fifth battlefield had also become chaotic. Look at the top of Sun Wukong's head. How is it possible? It's the immortal emperor tribulation again. Crazy. This has broken my understanding of the world for hundreds of millions of years. Did he also break through during the battle? When they saw the energy ripples above Sun Wukong's head, all the immortal emperors on the round platform stood up abruptly, including immortal emperor Lan Hui. All of them were in disbelief. Chapter 688. In the previous battle, you clearly didn't show any signs of breaking through, so why did you immediately cross immortal emperor tribulation? Hun Kun's eyes locked onto Sun Wukong, eyes full of great confusion. Sun Wukong gave Hun Kun an indifferent look, not giving him a reply. He brandished the golden cudgel, rushing into the heavens, facing that opening that was gradually opening. Under a heart-shaking rumbling noise, immortal emperor tribulation descended. It was different from the immortal emperor tribulation Xiaoyan experienced. Sun Wukong's immortal emperor tribulation was a completely different scene. The void continuously collapsed, wave after wave of mysterious symbols interweaving into millions of chains, instantly wrapping around Sun Wukong. Every single chain seemed to contain endless gravity, crazily tearing at Sun Wukong's entire body. Sun Wukong shouted, his entire body erupting with ash-white radiance. A pill-shaped object appeared behind him, turning into a giant vortex, actually devouring the mysterious power on the chains. Honglonglong. However, before the experts recovered from their shock, rumbling noises sounded from the other 6 battlefields. When they heard this, all of the experts immediately shifted their eyes, looking towards the other battlefields. When they saw this, including the immortal emperors, everyone's expressions became rigid, becoming numb. Right now, they were no longer immortal emperors, half-immortal emperors, immortal kings, but more like ordinary people who were struck by lightning from a clear sky, as if a bucket of cold water was poured over them from head to toe. Their expressions were absent-minded, a bit sluggish. On the battlefield, those peak-stage quasi-immortal emperors who were fighting against him sucked in a breath of cold air one after another when they saw their opponents. Their faces were filled with bewilderment and helplessness, as if they were struck by lightning and turned into clay sculptures. In battlefield number 1, above Yi Fan's head, the purest lightning descended, Emperor Dao aura surging. In battlefield number 2, above Chen Nan's head, there was a dazzling expanse. Endless light particles gathered into immortal emperor tribulation light, releasing chi-chi noises. In battlefield number 3, above Shihao's head, a giant hand appeared. When the 5 fingers moved, the heavens were torn apart. In battlefield number 6, above Zhu Beiji's head, yellow sand filled the sky, every single grain of yellow sand having Emperor Dao symbols erupting. In battlefield number 7, 2 types of immortal emperor tribulations descended. Above Tang San's head, all types of mysterious artifacts carried emperor might, all of them smashing down murderously. Above Golden Cicada's head, a great Buddha appeared, golden light dazzling, terrifying scriptures in its mouth. There were also 2 types of immortal emperor tribulations in battlefield number 8. Above Monk Sha's head, snowflakes drifted down, freezing the stars and spreading coldness. Above Ao Lai's head, there was a patch of crimson red, and within the red light, there was a vision of ghosts crying and gods howling. Just like Xiao Yan and Sun Wukong, as soon as the immortal emperor tribulation descended, Yi Fan, Shi Hao, and the others went up to face it. 10. They are all undergoing the immortal emperor tribulation. What the hell is going on? Are 10 immortal emperors going to be born at the same time today? Why? If Xiao Yan and Sun Wukong were enlightened during the battle with the immortal emperor, how can the others be explained? On the Starsea Square, although there were experts who came back to their senses one after another, their voices were still trembling. Fellow Taoist Chu, may I ask what happened to your disciples? Why are they all undergoing the immortal emperor tribulation all of a sudden? Limitless Immortal Emperor reached out his hand and pointed at the 8 battlefields on the stage. His throat squirmed, and he looked at Chu Bei with incomparable anticipation. Moonlight Empress, Desolation Immortal Emperor, Xingqiong Immortal Emperor, and all the other immortal emperors present, including the Genesis Primordial Spirit and Lan Hui Immortal Emperor, all looked at Chu Bei, eagerly waiting for the other party's reply. Ever since the formation of the great domain of primal chaos, forget about high heavens, it was extremely difficult for an immortal emperor to appear in the entire great domain of primal chaos. Normally, the appearance of every immortal emperor would be separated by at least 1,000,000 years. The case of Hong Jun and Han Kun from the Genesis Immortal sect becoming immortal emperors in the same year was extremely rare. It could even be said to be the first case. But now, an even more inconceivable scene appeared before their eyes. 10 disciples of the All Heavens shop were undergoing the immortal emperor tribulation at the same time. In the long river of history, whether it was the past or the future, there was absolutely no case of this. If they didn't see it with their own eyes, they definitely wouldn't believe that this scene was happening. Even if they were immortal emperors, and their minds had settled down for millions and millions of years, great waves still rose in their hearts. This scene was so inconceivable that they couldn't react in time. Faced with the expectant gazes of the immortal emperors, Chu Bei smiled but didn't give any answer. Rumble. In battlefield number 4, Xiao Yan pointed his finger, and a torrential sea of fire surged and heavenly lightning entered his body. Accompanied by the burning flames and the sound of thunder, an earth-shattering roar reverberated from his body. In an instant, dazzling divine light was released from Xiao Yan's body. His energy and aura rose, and his immortal qi seemed to have advanced to a higher level, becoming more vigorous and vigorous. Around him, emperor flames lingered, containing the power of an immortal emperor. He had reached the immortal emperor realm. In the next moment, in battlefield number 4, the immortal emperor tribulation retreated, and everything calmed down. Xiao Yan's face was expressionless as he absorbed the surrounding emperor flames into his body. Then, he tilted his head to look in Chu Bei's direction and bowed deeply in the air. He did it! Countless experts stared at Xiao Yan. Before their exclamations could dissipate, Sun Wukong and the other 8 cultivators in the other battlefields had also succeeded in their tribulations. Their auras underwent tremendous changes, and different emperor elephants appeared behind them. Their auras were intimidating. Just like Xiao Yan, they immediately knelt in Chu Bei's direction after they succeeded in their tribulations. Their eyes were filled with gratitude. Although the immortal emperor realm was only temporary, it was enough. With the mysterious light that their master had given them, they had personally experienced the immortal emperor tribulation and stood in the immortal emperor realm. They had comprehended a lot. They were confident that they would be able to reach the immortal emperor realm in less than 100 years after they returned. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The birth of the 10 emperors caused rare phenomena in the high heavens. It was colorful and extremely gorgeous. At this moment, not only the experts in the high heavens, but also the experts in the entire chaotic heavens were stunned. They looked in the direction of Qinghai Mountain with astonishment written all over their faces. 10 emperors were born at the same time. What exactly happened in the high heavens? Could it be that a great opportunity has appeared in the high heavens? Otherwise, why would 10 immortal emperors appear in one day? But what kind of opportunity could have led to such an outcome? Which forces did the 10 immortal emperors invest in? In that case, wouldn't the higher heavens' position in the 9 strongest domains rise again? In every corner of the chaotic heavens, tyrannical auras burst forth. Countless gazes were cast toward Shanghai Mountain, and their voices were filled with shock. Sky Market. The chaotic heavens was one of the 9 domains, and it was ranked 4th. Heaven Pavilion was located in the central area of Sky Market, and it was ranked 1st among the Emperor-level forces. The high heavens, interesting. Have you noticed that although the Daos of these 10 newly ascended immortal emperors are different, they are somewhat related at the root? They seem to be from the same lineage. You mean these 10 immortal emperors belong to the same force? Yes or no, we will find out soon. Chapter 689. In a large region in the northwest. In a sacred mountain shrouded in immortal mist and surrounded by a river of stars, a graceful figure stood on the mountain peak. Her eyes were lively, as if they had never been baptized by heaven and earth. Endless great Tao interweaved in her eyes. Is it the all-heaven shop again? How interesting! The graceful woman seemed to be able to see through thousands of large regions with a single glance, comprehending all karma. Her exquisite and flawless features outlined a smile. In a large region in the southeast. In a barren land, there was no life at all. There were only a few broken fallen leaves on the grayish-brown earth, cold and lonely. Desolation and emptiness coexisted. There were some scattered huge rocks on the ground. At first glance, they looked like tombstones. The sky was dim, and the faint black mist added a sense of gloominess to this barren land. Distant and deathly still, there was no sign of life. Let's see how far you can go. In the depths of the boundless earth, a distant and low voice drifted out. In a large region in the far north. Whoosh, this was a boundless sea of blood. It seemed to be the convergence of the blood of a supreme expert after his death, bringing with it a pungent smell. Amidst the terrifying splashing sound, a loud bang suddenly came from the sea of blood. The surface of the sea seemed to have been cut in half by a giant sword. Then, a terrifying aura that surpassed that of an 8-star immortal emperor overflowed, crossing the past, present, and future. The all-heaven shop, a power that can produce immortal emperors in batches? A thin figure came out from the depths of the sea. A pair of cold eyes looked at the sky, shaking eternity, and collapsing the long river of time. Even in the other most powerful regions, high-level immortal emperors woke up from their seclusion and looked in the direction of Shanghai Mountain. On the other side. On the round platform in the sky above Shanghai Square, Chu Bei nodded slightly to Xiao Yan, Sun Wukong, and the others. Disciples, don't forget that your battle isn't over yet. Chu Bei's smiling voice drifted out. His voice wasn't loud, but it rang clearly in the minds of every expert. The all-heaven shop's disciples looked at each other, and couldn't help but smile. Especially Xiao Yan and Sun Wukong. When they looked at Hong Jun and Han Kun again, their faces were no longer as solemn as before. They became very relaxed. Battlefield 1. Yi Fan put his hands behind his back and looked expressionlessly at Gu Mo of the Qianseng Island. Still want to fight? An indifferent voice filled with emperor's might drifted across the battlefield. Let's give it a try. After all, the opportunity to spar with an immortal emperor is extremely rare, Gu Mo said. There was no fighting spirit in his eyes. As soon as he finished speaking, Gu Mo made his move, unleashing his strongest killing technique. Yi Fan pointed out with his finger, and lightning that contained the power of an immortal emperor instantly annihilated Gu Mo's killing technique. Just as the rolling thunder was about to land on Gu Mo, immortal Emperor Lan Hui took action and sent Gu Mo out of the battlefield. Then, he announced the result of the battle. Battlefield 2. Chen Nan stood on the River of Light and looked calmly at Tian Rua of Divine Path Mountain. What do you think? The same as him? Tian Rua looked in Battlefield 1's direction and shook her head. Her face carried helplessness. I was defeated in a single strike. What can I comprehend from this? I think I should just leave on my own. After saying this in self-mockery, Tianruo left the battlefield. Battlefield 3. Floating Island. Wanbei looked at Shihao. We are both at the great circle of the half-immortal emperor level, yet I am not your opponent. Now, that is even more so not the case. You are extremely strong. If there is a chance, I will find another time to exchange pointers with you. Shihao revealed his pure white teeth. I am looking forward to the day when you grow up. When he heard Shihao's words that sounded like they came from an elder, the corners of Wanbei's lips twitched. After cursing inwardly, he also left the battlefield. Battlefield 6. Dragon Spring. Corpse. He didn't say anything. After greeting Zhu Beiji with cupped fists, he left the battlefield without any hesitation. You have become an immortal emperor. I can rephrase this battle, saying that you lost to an immortal emperor and not to someone at the great circle of the half-immortal emperor level. A voice that carried arrogance reverberated through the battlefield. As for Battlefield 7 and 8, Tang San, Golden Cicada, San Monk and Ao Lai looked at each other and smiled. Then, their eyes moved towards Battlefield 4 and 5. Only now can we be considered to have a truly fair battle. In Battlefield 4, Xiaoyan stood with his hands behind his back, calmly looking at Hong Jun. Xiaoyan's indifferent voice sounded. It was accompanied by a loud sound as his body emitted a glow. An endless amount of flame surged out of his body, transforming into an enormous fire dragon that circled and whistled with Xiaoyan at the middle. The dragon opened its mouth, spitting out endless strands of flames of different shapes. They carried terrifying immortal emperor might, intimidating one's soul. They are both one-star immortal emperors. This is indeed a fair battle. I just don't know which one of them is stronger. The eyes of the spectating powerhouses were fixed on the 4th and 5th battlefields. Their mutterings were filled with anticipation. You are quite confident. Huang Jun looked at Xiaoyan with a solemn expression and a divine light in his eyes as he gave his evaluation. Have you ever heard that the disciples of the All-Heavens Shop are invincible in the same realm? Xiaoyan's voice was calm. How arrogant! Huang Jun spoke, his voice filled with supreme power. You will know after the battle. The corners of Xiaoyan's mouth curled up, his words sharp and proud. Your master is very strong, but you are not him. Huang Jun snorted coldly, his voice filled with disdain. I will suppress you with a raise of my hand. Xiaoyan enunciated each word clearly. A sonorous sound came from Battlefield 4, resounding throughout the high heavens. Hong Juan's face darkened slightly, and he no longer responded. His emperor's might spread, and the immortal light of the great Tao surged around his body. Runes flickered. Then, he directly struck out with his palm, pointing directly at Xiaoyan. Great stars swirled in his palm, and strange phenomena appeared. Facing Hong Juan's immortal emperor power again, Xiaoyan was unmoved, and his expression did not change in the slightest. Looking calmly at the incoming emperor palm, Xiaoyan shook his head. Even if his body did not move, he still had a majestic spirit that could swallow mountains and rivers, as if he was the only one in the world. On the battlefield, Xiaoyan's red hair fluttered, and his divine eyes were like lightning, so piercing that it was difficult to look him in the eye, making people tremble with fear. Boom! At this moment, the star field in Xiaoyan's eyes suddenly reversed, and his gaze focused. Suddenly, the vast battlefield floor collapsed, and the sky cracked. That gaze was even more terrifying than a Supreme Emperor technique. In an instant, this beam of light met Hong Jun's large palm. At first, the two terrifying attacks that carried the power of an immortal emperor were in a stalemate, but soon, the gaze became sharper and directly penetrated the emperor palm, cutting it into two. Emperor blood shone brightly, flowing across the sky. Hong Jun has lost in the first exchange. Could it be that Hong Jun has not exerted his strength yet? The emperor palm was cut in two. Although it quickly recovered, the bodies of countless experts who were watching the battle suddenly trembled, and their gazes fell on Xiaoyan, full of shock. At the same time, in Battlefield 5, Sun Wukong held the golden cudgel in one hand, and a thick divine light rushed into the sky like magma erupting from a volcano, causing the entire battlefield to be immersed in a blood-red color. The Emperor's power was like a gorgeous light that shot in all directions. Chapter 690. Rumble. There was a loud explosion as layers of pill-shaped objects appeared, causing the universe to tremble. Millions of dazzling lights that carried the might of an immortal emperor fused with the layers of power and turned into a saber, the saber of Tao's severing. At that moment, a small pill-shaped object could be seen rotating in Sun Wukong's body. It seemed to be his Tao-proving weapon, releasing an endless stream of immortal emperor power into the saber. Chi! Sun Wukong used the Rui Jingyu Bang as a guide and swung it out. The saber cut through the divine chains of the void on the battlefield, splitting the great Tao runes, and slashed toward Hun Kun, breaking through all obstacles. Fight! Not far away, a voice roared. It was Hun Kun's roar. He erupted with boundless killing intent, and there was an explosion there, vaguely like the roar of a peerless monarch. The starry sky shattered, and a terrifying sound came from the void, like the howl of an ancient ghost. Hun Kun's Tao-proving weapon was a long spear, and the moment it appeared, it suddenly pierced toward the saber. Clang! The saber and the spear collided amidst the metallic vibrations. At the point of collision, white ripples spread across the battlefield. The immortal Emperor light was dazzling, and there was an eruption of ocean-like energy waves. After the intertwining divine light flooded the battlefield, it was extremely terrifying, and it made one's soul tremble. Rumble! The battlefield shook violently. The battlefield created by the Origin Thearka's energy clone looked like it was about to collapse. Fortunately, just as it was on the verge of collapse, a mysterious force of unknown origin flowed along the boundary of the boundary and strengthened the battlefield. Even so, the power of the collision between Sun Wukong and Hun Kun still penetrated the boundary of the boundary and spread out. Sensing the pressure of the aura, the expressions of the spectating experts on the Star Ocean Square changed drastically. The divine power in their bodies seemed to be inexplicably suppressed, and they could not mobilize it, feeling suffocated. At that moment, whether it was the fourth or fifth battlefield, a true battle was taking place. It was a battle between immortal emperors. Rumble! As time passed, the battle on the two battlefields became more and more intense, and all kinds of powerful killing techniques were used one after another. However, if one observed carefully, no matter which battlefield it was not an evenly matched battle. Clang! On the fifth battlefield, the sound of metal colliding lingered in the air, and the supreme immortal emperor aura of the two experts faced off against each other. When the immortal light at the point of collision dissipated, countless spectating experts finally woke up from their daze. There's a result! Countless experts cast their gazes on battlefield number 5. When they saw the scene clearly, their pupils shrank. On the battlefield, the spear in Hun Kun's hand that was releasing Emperor Light had a gap on one side of the spear. A small crack was extending into the distance. After countless clashes, Hun Kun's monarch weapon was damaged. Dying in the midst of battle. Pooh! Almost at the same time, Hun Kun's face turned pale, and his aura dropped a level. The monarch weapon was connected to the origin. If the monarch weapon was damaged, the origin would be damaged as well. Hun Kun, you've lost. If we continue to fight, it will evolve into a fight to the death. Just as Hun Kun was about to burn his emperor blood essence to increase his battle prowess, an even more terrifying immortal emperor power enveloped him. Immortal Emperor Lan Hui made his move. He forcibly bound Hun Kun and dragged him out of the battlefield. Hun Kun of the Genesis Immortal Sect versus Sun Wukong of the All Heavens Shop. Sun Wukong wins! Before Hun Kun could speak, Immortal Emperor Lan Hui announced the result of the competition. At this moment, the result of battlefield number 4 was also out. Hongjuan's monarch weapon was pierced through by Xiaoyan's fire dragon, and a huge gap appeared. The difference was that it was not Immortal Emperor Lan Hui who made the move this time, but the Genesis primordial spirit. With a faint sigh, she appeared on the battlefield and took Hongjun away. Hongjun of the Genesis Immortal Sect versus Xiao Yan of the All Heavens Shop. Xiao Yan wins! Following that, Immortal Emperor Lan Hui's majestic voice resounded again. It reverberated in the sky with supreme majesty. It's over! Xiao Yan and Sun Wukong have won! In the same realm, the disciples of the All Heavens Shop are indeed invincible. Looking at the two battlefields with only one figure left, the spectating experts came back to their senses. While their faces were filled with shock, they also looked like they wanted to continue. Master, we can still fight. Han Kuan and Hongjun appeared beside the Genesis primordial spirit. They looked at Sun Wukong and Xiao Yan, respectively, with unwillingness on their faces. The Emperor weapon is damaged, so a loss is a loss. If you continue to fight, if no one stops you, there is a possibility of you dying. The Genesis primordial spirit glanced at Han Kuan and Hongjun and said, You should know how their strength compares to yours. Hearing the Genesis primordial spirit's words, Han Kuan and Hongjun fell silent. Although they were both one-star immortal emperors, there was an inexplicable pressure when they fought with each other. From the beginning of the battle, they were in a state of suppression, constantly retreating until they were truly defeated. Their Tao seems to be stronger. Finally, Han Kuan spoke. The Genesis primordial spirit nodded slightly and responded. They both obtained the inheritance of the sect master of the All Heavens Shop. Disciple Xiao Yan, Sun Wukong, greets master. When the battle ended, Xiao Yan and Sun Wukong were the last to leave the arena. They stood side by side with Yi Fan, Chen Nan, and the others, bowing to Chu Bei with cupped fists. Next is the battle between you all. There is no victory or defeat, only the comprehension of each other's Tao. Chu Bei's gaze swept across the disciples in front of him and said indifferently. 15 minutes later. The battle of the top 8 is over. The battle of the top 4 begins. Immortal Emperor Lan Hui's voice sounded. Battlefield number 1, Chen Nan of the All Heavens Shop against Yi Fan of the All Heavens Shop. Battlefield number 2, Shi Hao of the All Heavens Shop against Xiao Yan of the All Heavens Shop. Battlefield number 3, Sun Wukong of the All Heavens Shop against Zhu Beiji of the All Heavens Shop. Battlefield number 4, Tang San of the All Heavens Shop against Ao Lai of the All Heavens Shop. When Immortal Emperor Lan Hui's voice sounded in their ears, a strange expression appeared on the faces of the experts. Who would have thought that this battle of strength would eventually evolve into a battle between the disciples of the All Heavens Shop? Similar voices with laughter sounded in the crowd. On the arena, after Chen Nan, Yi Fan, and the others looked at each other, they cupped their fists and began to spar. At first, the 8 of them fought in pairs according to the rules of the competition, but later on, it directly evolved into a chaotic battle. In the end, Golden Cicada and Sand Monk, who had previously failed to enter the top 8 due to modesty, also joined the battle. In an instant, the so-called battle of the top 8 truly became a chaotic battle between the 10 disciples of the All Heavens Shop. Hong Long Long. In the chaotic battlefield, the 10 great pill-shaped objects circled about, releasing terrifying divine abilities one after another. Immortal Emperor Might pervaded the air, continuously colliding with each other, bringing about terrifying and intimidating sounds. When he saw this scene, Immortal Emperor Lan Hui looked in Chu Bei's direction. When he understood the latter's intention, he didn't stop him, as if he didn't care. As for the other immortal emperors on the round platform, the corners of their mouths twitched slightly, but they didn't say anything. After all, the top 8 were all disciples of the All Heavens Shop. Chapter 691. The more they watched the chaotic battle, the more shocked they became. They were clearly just one-star immortal emperors, but the strength they displayed was already limitless. After all, only 2 stars immortal emperors had the power and emperor's power fluctuations. What surprised them the most was that the strength of the 10 disciples of the All Heavens Shop was really evenly matched. There was no difference in strength. It's about time to end it. When Chu Bei's calm voice sounded, Xiao Yan, Yi Fan, and the others stopped. In the blink of an eye, the battlefield returned to peace. There's no need for the following battles. As for the ranking, you can do as you see fit. Chu Bei looked at Immortal Emperor Lan Hui and said indifferently. When he heard Chu Bei's words, Immortal Emperor Lan Hui was stunned at first, then he shook his head, smiled helplessly, and nodded. This Immortal Emperor announces that this year's battle between the disciples of the all heavens above forces has ended. First place is Yi Fan, second place is Shi Hao, third place is Chen Nan, fourth place is Xiao Yan, fifth place is Tang San, sixth place is Sun Wukong, seventh place is Zhu Beiji, eighth place is Ao Lai, ninth place is San Monk, and 10th place is Golden Cicada. As for the 9th and 10th places, do you have any objections? Immortal Emperor Lan Hui's last words were directed at Hong Jun and Han Kun. Hong Jun and Han Kun were silent. From the previous chaotic battle, San Monk and Golden Cicada's strength were comparable to Xiao Yan and Sun Wukong. Naturally, they were above them. After a while, Immortal Emperor Lan Hui smiled and continued to announce the results of the competition. After Immortal Emperor Lan Hui finished announcing the top 200, a huge void projection appeared above the stage. The information on it was the points of the 200 disciples. Yi Fan, who was ranked first, had 100 points, Shi Hao, 80 points, Chen Nan, 70 points, Xiao Yan, 65 points, Tang San, 60 points, Sun Wukong, 55 points, Zhu Beiji, 50 points, Ao Lai, 45 points, San Monk, 40 points, and Golden Cicada, 35 points. After the 10th place, the points began to be separated by 3 points, then 2 points, 1.0, 5.0, 0.25 points. The final ranking of the Battle of Factions was determined not only by the points of the factions represented by the 200 disciples, but also by the points of the founders of the various factions. In the competition between the founders, the first place would be awarded 300 points, the second place 250 points, the third place 210 points, the fourth place 190 points, the fifth place 180 points, and so on until the 39th place. Currently, the All Heavens Shop's disciples had accumulated 600 points. Since the beginning of the Battle of Forces, this is the first time a disciple of a force has obtained 600 points. Can the previous grand competitions be compared to this one? The All Heavens Shop appeared out of nowhere, and its disciples took the top 10 spots. They are also 10 immortal emperors. 600 points. Doesn't that mean that even if Gate Master Chu Bei doesn't participate in the founder competition, his All Heavens Shop will still be the number 1 faction in the high heavens? According to the rules of the Battle of Forces, that is indeed the case. Looking at the points information above the battle stage, the group of powerhouses calculated in their hearts and exclaimed in surprise. Everyone, although the first place belongs to the All Heavens Shop, the second place and the other rankings are still unknown. At this moment, Immortal Emperor Lan Hui's vigorous voice drifted over the square. Moreover, the second round is the most exciting part of the Battle of Forces. You will be able to witness the battle between immortal emperors. If you can comprehend something or make a breakthrough from their battle, it will be a great blessing. Hearing Immortal Emperor Lan Hui's words, the group of powerhouses fell silent. Their eyes were filled with anticipation. Although there were immortal emperors in the previous Battle of Disciples, they were only 1-star immortal emperors who had just broken through. However, the founder competition was a battle between high-level immortal emperors. Although the Battle of Forces did not have the same rewards as the Battle of Immortal Emperors, and the former was not as intense as the latter, it was still a feast for the eyes. In the previous Battle of Immortal Emperors, all the immortal emperors would participate, including the Dragon Spring Sect, Divine Path Mountain, and Thousand Green Island who were still in seclusion. However, the Battle of Forces was different. These 3 factions only sent their representatives. Clang! Accompanied by the crisp sound of metal, a huge gap appeared. Upon closer inspection, all kinds of phenomena could be seen in the gap. A dazzling golden path extended out. In the next moment, the sound of the great Tao rang out, and a figure slowly walked out. It was a middle-aged man dressed in simple green robes. The moment he arrived, All the Emperor energy fluctuations on the round platform seemed to be confined in an instant. The huge square also fell into silence. The middle-aged man had his hands behind his back. His indifferent gaze first swept across the group of immortal emperors on the round platform, then the powerhouses on the square. He was expressionless. Yuan Di! He's here again. Is he going to watch the battle? Looking at the figure in the sky, the group of immortal emperors on the round platform exclaimed in surprise. Everyone, Lord Yuan Di is just worried that the strength of the battlefield is not enough, so he wants to strengthen it. Immortal Emperor Lan Hui bowed respectfully to Yuan Di before sweeping his gaze across the group of immortal emperors. At the same time, Yuan Di's clone shot out countless rays of Emperor light that adhered to the boundary walls around the battle platform. Congratulations! After strengthening it, Yuan Di's clone looked at Chu Bei and said calmly, Congratulations! Chu Bei nodded slightly in response. The battles between all of you will be the same as before. You will fight in pairs to determine the final ranking. Immortal Emperor Lan Hui glanced at the group of immortal emperors on the round platform. With a wave of his hand, several mysterious halos appeared. The group of immortal emperors on the stage only needed a glance to know their opponents. Kai Cheong Immortal Emperor vs. Bai Lan Immortal Emperor. Mu Bai Immortal Emperor vs. He Wu Immortal Emperor. Wu Ji Immortal Emperor vs. Yi Huang Immortal Emperor. Genesis Immortal Emperor vs. Xing Qiong Immortal Emperor. Other than the 7-star Immortal Emperor representing the 1,000 Green Island, the information of the other 38 Immortal Emperors was quickly projected on the round platform. They were divided into 19 battlefields. Rumble! As soon as the battle started, several battlefields entered a state of intense battle. However, if one looked closely, no Immortal Emperors on any of the battlefields were fighting with their lives on the line. It was as if they were really just friendly sparring sessions. Even so, these 19 battlefields were far more terrifying than the previous battles between disciples. Especially in some of the battlefields, Source Heaven energy had appeared. It was a power that surpassed ordinary immortal emperors. On the 7th battlefield. Taoist Chu, I'm a little unlucky. Why did I pick you? The Moonlight Empress blinked her beautiful eyes at Chu Bei with a helpless expression. So, are we going to fight or not? Chu Bei smiled knowingly. Although his strength had returned to the level of a 3-star immortal emperor, it was still enough to deal with the 2 stars Empress of the Moonlight. Chapter 692. Fellow Taoist Chu, do you really want to bully me? The Empress of the Moonlight rolled her eyes and rebuked Chu Bei. Chu Bei shuddered inexplicably when he heard the Empress of the Moonlight's coquettish voice and looked at her demure demeanor. He didn't dare to speak again. The Empress of the Moonlight clearly wanted to become his cultivation partner, but he didn't have the slightest intention of doing so. Anyone who could step into the Immortal Emperor realm was no pushover. Forget it. I'm sure fellow Taoist Chu understands what I mean. Think about it carefully. I'm the only female immortal emperor in the high heavens. The Empress of the Moonlight's soft voice rang out. She looked at Immortal Emperor Lan Hui and said, I admit defeat. With the Empress of the Moonlight's surrender, Chu Bei successfully entered the next round. 4 hours later, the results of all the battles were announced. Limitless Immortal Emperor vs. White Orchid Immortal Emperor. Genesis Immortal Emperor vs. Floating Island Immortal Emperor. Flowing Sky Immortal Emperor vs. Nether Immortal Emperor. The top 20 battles began. On the 4th battlefield. Fellow Taoist Chu, that guy under the moonlight was very wise. I've personally experienced your methods, and I owe you a great favor in the Emperor Fallen Sea. I don't think this battle is necessary either. He Wu Immortal Emperor said to Chu Bei. He had fought with He Wu Immortal Emperor during the first battle for the Source Heaven Stone Mine. However, He Wu Immortal Emperor had held back and only used a drop of Source Heaven power. In the Emperor Fallen Sea, He Wu Immortal Emperor and Nether Immortal Emperor were trapped in the formation. After He Wu Immortal Emperor surrendered without a fight, Immortal Emperor Lan Hui immediately announced the results. As time passed, the results of the battles were announced. The third battle was the top 10 battle. Limitless Immortal Emperor vs. Genesis Immortal Emperor. Flowing Sky Immortal Emperor vs. Owner of All Heaven's Shop. Bai Ling Immortal Emperor vs. Dragon Puppet Immortal Emperor. When Immortal Emperor Lan Hui announced the start of the battle, Flowing Sky Immortal Emperor glanced at Chu Bei, shook his head, and left the battlefield without a word. Immortal Emperor Lan Hui was stunned at first, but when he came back to his senses, he immediately announced the results. The All Heaven Shop's headmaster won again without a fight. Oh my God! Why was it like this again? I'd like to see the All Heaven Shop master make a move. He entered the top 5 just like that. I haven't seen him move at all. What? Could it be that if it were you, would you still fight with him? The All Heaven Shop master defeated Immortal Emperor Yen Tian in the Tao of the Sword. Being able to use 120 drops of Genesis Heaven power at the same time is the mark of an 8-star Immortal Emperor. I'm afraid that only Immortal Emperor Lan Hui of the Origin Sky Pavilion can fight him. Furthermore, the All Heaven Shop master is like a bottomless pit. Perhaps he still has some hidden trump cards. In the square, discussions broke out, and the topic was all about Chu Bei. Rumble. On the battle stage, Genesis Heaven power rippled as terrifying sound waves spread in all directions, shaking one's soul. 6 hours later, the results of the 5 battlefields were announced. Immortal Emperor Lan Hui coughed lightly as he swept his gaze across the experts in the square with a smile. The top 5 are out. They are Immortal Emperor Han Ning representing the Dragon Spring sect, Immortal Emperor He Luo representing the Divine Path Mountain, Immortal Emperor Bai Ling representing the Thousand Green Island, Immortal Emperor Wu Ji representing the Limitless Immortal Sect, and the All Heaven's Shop Master. Although these 4 Immortal Emperors haven't entered the 8-star stage, they're all at the peak of the 7-star stage. Even if they're not the All Heaven's Shop Master's match, they'll still dare to fight him. We can finally see the All Heaven's Shop Master in action again. Hearing Immortal Emperor Lan Hui's words, almost all the experts were boiling with excitement. Everyone, you will be taking turns to fight in twos. Immortal Emperor Han Ning will watch the first battle. Immortal Emperor He Luo will fight against Immortal Emperor Wu Ji on the first battlefield. Immortal Emperor Bai Ling will fight against the All Heaven Shop Master on the second battlefield. Immortal Emperor Lan Hui announced. Fellow Taoist Chu, although I know I'll lose, I still want to experience your skills. Immortal Emperor Bai Ling, who represented the Thousand Green Island, cupped his fists at Chu Bei. He was at the peak of the 7-star stage and had yet to enter the 8-star stage. I'm tired and don't want to fight anymore. I'll let you win. However, just as everyone was looking at Chu Bei expectantly, Chu Bei spat out a light voice from his mouth. Don't want to fight anymore? What do you mean? Is the All Heaven Shop Master going to surrender without a fight? How can this be? It wasn't easy to wait for an Immortal Emperor to fight him, but fellow Taoist Chu doesn't want to fight anymore. Isn't fellow Taoist Chu afraid of being judged as inferior? What a joke! Everyone has seen fellow Taoist Chu's strength. He's already an 8-star Immortal Emperor. Who told him to take first place in terms of points? This is fellow Taoist Chu's choice. If he wants to fight, then he'll fight. If he doesn't want to fight, then he won't fight. I like such a casual personality. Chu Bei's calm voice sounded. It was like a bolt from the blue, shocking all of the cultivators in the high heavens until they were stupefied. Immortal Emperor Bai Ling, who was his opponent, was also stunned when he heard Chu Bei's words. His expression suddenly became rigid. Master is really carefree. That's right. I'm still hoping to comprehend something from his Tao. It seems like we can only wait for the next opportunity. When do you think we can catch up to Master's footsteps? Even at our current cultivation realm, we still feel that we are far from Master. Xiao Yan, Yi Fan, Shi Hao, and the others looked at each other and shook their heads with bitter smiles. Fellow Taoist Chu, you really choose to give up? Even Immortal Emperor Lan Hui cast over a look of surprise. I'm tired. Moreover, this battle has no meaning for me. Chu Bei smiled knowingly. His hands were behind his back. He raised his head at a 45-degree angle and looked into the distance. His eyes were deep, giving off a mysterious feeling. If it wasn't for the fact that the effects of the level 22 goods had expired, Chu Bei naturally wouldn't let go of this opportunity to defeat the other party. However, with his current strength of 3 stars, he was far from being the other party's match. If he used 150 drops of Source Heaven power, it would be too much of a waste. He might as well choose not to fight. In any case, the first place had already fallen into the All Heavens Shop's hands. This battle, regardless of whether you fight or not, you have to fight! At this moment, a vigorous voice carrying a Supreme Emperor's might sounded from the distance. It instantly filled the entire Starsea Plaza, causing everyone to tremble. Who is speaking? It's from the direction of the Thousand Green Island. Hearing this, all the experts, including the immortal emperors, immediately turned their gazes towards the Thousand Green Island. Amidst the buzzing sounds, a huge halo of light appeared above the depths of the Thousand Green Island. Resplendent divine light shot out from the halo, and a silver path extended out. An imposing figure was faintly discernible. Chapter 693. It was a middle-aged man in a white robe. His hands were crossed behind his back. The moment he took a step forward, resplendent divine light surged around him. Strands of unparalleled immortal emperor aura surged into the sky. In the blink of an eye, the middle-aged man had already appeared above the round platform. His cold gaze swept across the experts on the square below. His face was expressionless. It really is Immortal Emperor Qian Tsang. Why did he come out of seclusion? What did he mean by that? Could it be that he wants to fight against the All Heavens Shop sect master? What terrifying power! Just a beam of light from his eyes made the divine force in my body feel like it has been imprisoned. On the square, when the experts met the middle-aged man's gaze, they only felt an indescribable chill rise in their hearts. Their bodies couldn't help but tremble. Just now, a terrifying power shot out from the middle-aged man's eyes and instantly seeped into their bodies, imprisoning their immortal force, making them unable to move. He's very strong! Perhaps we can still see Master take action again. Xiaoyan, Yifan, Shihao, and the others sensed the middle-aged man's aura fluctuation. Their expressions were slightly stunned at first, and then they looked at Chu Bei again. There was only anticipation on their faces, not any worry. Qian Tsang, you broke through? Immortal Emperor Bai Ling looked at the middle-aged man and asked with suspicion between her brows. I failed. The middle-aged man looked at Immortal Emperor Bai Ling, shook his head, and said, However, it's not like I didn't gain anything. The next time I go into seclusion, I'll definitely succeed. That's good. Immortal Emperor Bai Ling nodded slightly. Since you're here, then there's nothing for me to do here. I'll just be a spectator. Immortal Emperor Qian Tsang no longer responded to Immortal Emperor Bai Ling. Instead, he looked at Chu Bei. Dao friend Qian Tsang, Dao friend Chu has already given up on this battle. You've already won. Immortal Emperor Lan Hui said. You haven't even fought yet. How did you win? Immortal Emperor Qian Tsang's gaze landed on Immortal Emperor Lan Hui. Dao friend Chu has already stated that according to the rules, you can't attack him again. Immortal Emperor Lan Hui replied. What if I insist on fighting him? Immortal Emperor Qian Tsang's eyes narrowed. Don't tell me you want to go against the Origin Sky Pavilion? Immortal Emperor Lan Hui's expression darkened as his aura began to rise. Don't worry, fellow Taoist Lan Hui. Immortal Emperor Qian Tsang suddenly smiled and said, Then I won't attack him in the name of a faction battle, but as an individual. Will your Origin Sky Pavilion still care? This? Upon hearing Celestial Emperor Qian Tsang's words, Celestial Emperor Lan Hui frowned. Then, he glanced at Chu Bei and retreated to the side. He said, It's none of our business. I don't remember having any interactions with you. Chu Bei looked at Immortal Emperor Qian Tsang calmly. Those personal disciples of this emperor were all defeated by those disciples of yours. As his master, I have to save some face. Immortal Emperor Qian Tsang stared coldly at Chu Bei. Chu Bei was silent for a moment. After a faint sigh, he looked at Immortal Emperor Lan Hui and said, "Since a battle is unavoidable, then I take back my previous words of giving up. This battle will be a faction battle. Since the sect master has said so, I'll naturally listen to you." Immortal Emperor Lan Hui pointed at the battle stage and said, "However, even if Origin Sky Pavilion has strengthened it, I'm afraid that battle stage still won't be able to accommodate your battle." "It's fine." Chu Bei smiled knowingly. "When the time comes, I'll strengthen it during the battle." As his calm voice faded, Chu Bei took a step forward and directly appeared on the fighting stage. Immortal Emperor Qian Tsang followed closely behind and appeared on the battle stage at almost the same time. Their gazes met, and the atmosphere suddenly turned eerie and deathly silent. Rumble! With a deafening explosion, terrifying Immortal Emperor power burst out of Immortal Emperor Qian Tsang's body and swept across the entire battlefield in an instant. What a series of twists and turns! Who would have expected Immortal Emperor Qian Tsang to come out of seclusion? Immortal Emperor Qian Tsang versus the sect master of the All Heavens Shop. As a veteran 8-star Immortal Emperor Qian Tsang was able to use 130 drops of Genesis Heaven power in the previous Immortal Emperor ranking battle. In the previous battle against Immortal Emperor Yen Tian, the sect master of the All Heavens Shop only used 120 drops. They're both 8-star Immortal Emperors, but there's still a gap between them. Immortal Emperor Qian Tsang has already entered the intermediate stage, while fellow Taoist Chu has just entered this stage. On the Star Ocean Plaza, the crowd of experts was filled with excitement and anticipation as they fixed their gazes on the battle stage. "Let's fight. Let this Emperor see just how strong you are, a fellow who has only appeared in this world for 100 years. Immortal Emperor Qian Tsang's emotionless voice sounded from the battlefield. With a loud boom, his right hand bloomed with dazzling divine light and stirred the void that contained Origin Sky Pavilion's energy. A small octagonal cauldron appeared in his palm. Chi! Immortal Emperor Qian Tsang tossed his right hand, and the small octagonal cauldron, which was originally the size of a palm, rapidly expanded and hovered above his head. At the same time, an incomparably heart-palpitating aura spread out from his body. It was the energy fluctuation of Genesis Heaven power. Tao Verification Emperor Weapon, Thousand Heaven Cauldron. Immortal Emperor Qian Tsang summoned the Thousand Heaven Cauldron before the battle even started. It seems that even he values the sect master of the All Heavens Shop very much. Don't forget, the sect master of the All Heavens Shop is also an 8-star Immortal Emperor. Even if he's not as strong as Immortal Emperor Qian Tsang, he's not that far off. Even if Immortal Emperor Qian Tsang wins, it won't be easy. On the Star Ocean Plaza, the crowd of experts stared blankly at the octagonal cauldron above Immortal Emperor Qian Tsang, their hearts throbbing inexplicably. Qian Tsang Island was once the third great Emperor-level force in the high heavens, second only to the Dragon Spring Sect and Divine Path Mountain. Its name came from the thousands of islands that circled around the Great Emperor Province. Each island had its own mysteries and contained a supreme great Tao. It was said that when these islands were formed, a baby boy was born out of thin air. This baby boy was Immortal Emperor Qian Tsang. Unlike Immortal Emperor Yen Tian and Limitless Immortal Emperor Qian Tsang was ranked 94th on the Immortal Emperor ranking of the entire Chaos Great Heavens. At this moment, Immortal Emperor Qian Tsang was quietly hovering in the middle of the battlefield. Although he didn't make any moves, just the energy ripples released by the combination of his Genesis Heaven power and the Thousand Heaven Cauldron were enough to cause the battlefield's barrier to tremble. This was something that had never happened in a battle between immortal emperors before. Yi Fan, his attainments in the cauldron are higher than yours. On the plaza, Xiaoyan, Chen Nan, and the others tilted their heads and looked at Yi Fan. Indeed. I still have a long way to go. Yi Fan didn't deny it. Although his myriad Qi cauldron and the divine pill's power complemented each other, it was still far inferior to the Thousand Heaven Cauldron's might on the battlefield. As for Chu Bei, who was also on the battlefield, His expression didn't change at all when he sensed the terrifying cauldron's might that was deliberately targeting him. Chapter 694. Fight! Immortal Emperor Qianzheng's roar shook the battlefield. Then, he stretched out his hand and grabbed one of the cauldron legs, then threw it toward Chu Bei without any hesitation. A terrifying energy storm swept out in an instant. Genesis heaven power rose and fell where the thousand firmament cauldron passed. Interesting. I didn't expect Qianzheng to come out of seclusion. We don't know the origin of the All-Heaven Shop Master. It's good that he's here. At least we can find out his strength. When the All-Heaven Shop was established, who would have thought the All-Heaven Shop Master had already stepped into the 8-star stage? Above the sky, several immortal emperors from the other great regions were watching the situation on the battlefield. On the battlefield, Chu Bei gazed ahead in silence, not uttering a single word. However, just as the thousand firmament cauldron was about to crush him, terrifying energy rippled around Chu Bei's body. A similar scene played out again. First, a strangely shaped ancient tree exuding an ancient aura appeared. There were tens of thousands of core-shaped objects growing on it. These objects were the same size, but their colors and shapes were different. Each had their own unique characteristics. The branches and leaves swayed, and with a buzzing sound, thousands of different colors rippled above the ancient tree, occasionally changing into various shapes. An extremely dense and refreshing aura that caused one's mind to be refreshed diffused out from the thousands upon thousands of pill-shaped objects, and it rippled through the battlefield and transformed into a miraculous scene. Then, a baby jumped above the ancient tree, its small white hands constantly waving as if controlling the ancient tree under its feet. In addition to the Bodhi ancient tree, the Path Understanding tree, the Nether tree, and the World tree appeared one after another. They were in 4 directions, with the Bodhi ancient tree as the center. The branches swayed as they changed positions, and the Bodhi ancient tree was the leader. With a rumble, the Path Understanding tree, the Nether tree, and the World tree merged into the Bodhi ancient tree. In addition, there was also a ball of energy wrapped in primal chaos. In the end, the 4 ancient trees fused together and evolved into a 5-colored cauldron. Unlike the thousand firmament cauldron, the 5-colored cauldron had no horns. If it weren't for its 3 square legs, it would have looked like a water tank. Chu Bei smiled and reached out with his right hand, grabbing one of the 5-colored cauldron's legs. Millions of rays of dazzling divine light shot out from the 5-colored cauldron, merging with the Genesis heaven power released from Chu Bei's body. In an instant, a crisp sound that made one's heart tremble sounded from the 5-colored cauldron, as if a slumbering beast had suddenly awakened. It's not a sword! How's that? Didn't the owner of the All-Heaven Shop Stao? Why is it a cauldron? It's a cauldron's. Is heaven's cauldron. Could it be that the owner of the All-Heaven Shop used both the sword and cauldron to prove his Tao? Sung GGGGS? This was the Tao of an immortal emperor. Since ancient times, no one has been able to prove 2 Das and enter the immortal emperor realm. Looking at the 5-colored cauldron above Chu Bei, the experts watching the battle on the Star Ocean Plaza suddenly rose to their feet. Their faces were filled with shock and disbelief. Judging from the cauldron's aura, only a Tao verification emperor weapon could have such power. However, in the battle between the All-Heaven's Shop's owner and immortal Emperor Yen Tian, the latter had clearly used a long sword. What's going on? 2 Tao verification emperor weapons! How did he do it? The All-Heaven Shop's owner has many secrets. Outside of high heavens, immortal emperors from other regions expressed their confusion. It's because of the tree from before. What you're saying is that his true Tao is related to that tree. Whether it's the sword or the cauldron, they both evolved from that tree? That's not right. His true Tao should be that strange and mysterious energy. How can there be such an Emperor Tao? Can it derive other Emperor Taos? If that's the case, how terrifying would that be? Some immortal emperors speculated, but it was because of this that they hoped even more that Chu Bei had attained 2 Emperor Taos. At this moment, all immortal emperors who were not in closed-door cultivation in the Chaos Multiverse focused their attention on the battle between immortal Emperor Qianzhang and Chu Bei. On the battlefield, Chu Bei did something similar to what immortal Emperor Qianzhang had done. With a flick of his right hand, the billions of rays of divine light around the five-colored cauldron were drawn into the cauldron's mouth. Then, they turned into a rainbow that streaked across the sky like a meteor and flashed towards the immortal Emperor Qianzhang. Amidst the soul-stirring buzzing, the dim battlefield suddenly became gorgeous, giving people a dazzling feeling. Clang! Two cauldrons with completely different appearances, each containing terrifying Genesis Heaven power and different Emperor Daos, slammed into each other. When the two cauldrons collided on the battlefield, the eyes of all the experts on the Star Ocean Square widened. In an instant, their vision was filled with white light, and the dazzling light waves directly robbed them of their normal vision. Even with immortal chi protecting their bodies, they could still feel a faint stabbing pain in their eyes, and even their consciousness felt like it was being pricked by needles. Fortunately, this was only temporary, and they were soon able to see the scene on the battlefield clearly again. The Emperor Daos of the two cauldrons collided, and endless immortal Emperor power wrapped around the Genesis Heaven power and compressed it together violently. At the point of collision, a new vast world seemed to have been opened up, containing surging galaxies, boundless starfields, and enormous stars. It was a frightening sight. The owner of the All Heavens Shop's cauldron blocked the immortal Emperor Qianzhang. It shouldn't be. Immortal Emperor Qianzhang had already reached the intermediate 8-star stage in the last Immortal Emperor ranking battle, while the All Heavens Shop owner was only at the initial 8-star stage. Logically speaking, the Immortal Emperor Qianzhang should have the upper hand. What's going on? Could it be that there's no difference between the intermediate 8-star stage and the initial 8-star stage? Impossible! Even a 7-star realm cultivator would have to spend tens of millions or even hundreds of millions of years to advance a minor stage. After the breakthrough, the increase in combat strength was not just a little bit, let alone the 8 stars realm. Looking at the two equally matched cauldrons in the battlefield, the spectators, including the immortal emperor, were all surprised. It was as if this result was beyond their expectations. However, accompanied by a rumbling sound, a scene that made them even more surprised and even shocked them to the point that they lost their composure occurred. In just 2 seconds, the stalemate was broken. One of the cauldrons was actually sent flying. The cauldron that was sent flying was not Chu Bei's 5-colored cauldron, but immortal Emperor Qianzhang's 1,000 firmament cauldron. The 1,000 firmament cauldron flew away! How could this be? Immortal Emperor Qianzhang used his cauldron to prove his Tao, and his cultivation base has reached the intermediate 8-star Immortal Emperor. Why is this happening? Could it be that his cauldron Tao is superior to Immortal Emperor Qianzhang? All the spectators were dumbfounded as they stared at the battlefield in a daze. Chapter 695. No, the 1,000 firmament cauldron didn't lose on the cauldron path. Instead, he lost to Genesis Heaven power. The limitless immortal emperor exclaimed as if he had realized something. What? Lost on the power of Genesis Heaven? What do you mean? Immortal Emperor Qianzhang is an intermediate 8-star expert, and can mobilize 135 drops of Genesis Heaven power at the same time. While the All Heavens Shop owner is a beginner 8-star expert, he can only mobilize 120 drops of Genesis Heaven power. How can the 1,000 firmament cauldron lose on the power of Genesis Heaven? Are you sure the All Heavens Shop owner can only mobilize 120 drops of Genesis Heaven power at most? You mean, the All Heavens Shop owner's cultivation is not at the beginner 8-star stage, but above Immortal Emperor Qianzhang? Hearing the limitless Celestial Emperor's words, some of the Celestial Emperors reacted in shock. It was at this moment that the Genesis Heaven power around the two cauldrons appeared before everyone's eyes. 135 drops of Genesis Heaven power floated around the 1,000 firmament cauldron. And around the 5-color cauldron, 10 drops, 20 drops, 30 drops, 40 drops, 50 drops, a total of 150 drops. As I expected, 150 drops of Genesis Heaven power. Advanced 8-star. The All Heavens shop owner's cultivation is above Immortal Emperor Qian Tsang. In the entire high heavens, only the two from the Dragon Spring sect and Divine Path Mountain have reached the advanced 8-star stage. Who can give me a clear answer? What cultivation level is the All Heavens shop owner at? You can ask the All Heavens shop owner yourself. Even if someone tells me that the All Heavens shop owner is stronger than Genesis Heaven, I will believe it. After confirming the amount of Genesis Heaven power around the 5-color cauldron, the eyes of all the experts widened sharply. After witnessing this scene, they could no longer use words to describe their inner feelings. It's the same again. Every time, he brings out strength that is only slightly higher than his opponent. On the round platform, the Genesis Yuan spirit looked at Chu Bei, who was standing calmly with his hands behind his back, and muttered to himself. 3 years ago, Duanling Tian's strength was at the early stage of the 7-star celestial realm. Before the grand competition, Duanling Tian's strength was at the early stage of the 8-star celestial realm. Now, Duanling Tian's strength was at the advanced stage of the 8-star celestial realm. No matter which battle it was, the All Heavens shop had only used slightly more strength than their opponents. It was impossible to know their true strength. From the beginning to the end, he gave off an incomparably mysterious feeling, like a bottomless pit. Immortal Emperor Yen Tian was silent. Based on his personal experience, his inner world was the same as the Genesis primordial spirit. At the same time, those immortal emperors who were spectating all fell silent. It was unknown what they were thinking. I didn't expect you to have already reached the heights of Long Quan and Xin Dao. Immortal Emperor Qian Tsung stared at Chu Bei. The smile on his face disappeared and his expression became serious. Chu Bei didn't respond to Immortal Emperor Qian Tsung. Instead, he reached out and grabbed the 5-colored cauldron again. Then, he directly slammed the cauldron toward Immortal Emperor Qian Tsung. Immortal Emperor Qian Tsung didn't dare to underestimate the 5-colored cauldron when he sensed that the cauldrons might have been strengthened again. He channeled all of his Genesis Heaven power and held the cauldron with both hands to meet Duanling Tian's attack. Rumble! Under the control of Chu Bei and Immortal Emperor Qian Tsung, the two cauldrons separated upon contact. The terrifying aftershock of the collision tore several cracks in the battlefield that Emperor Yuan had reinforced. Fortunately, the battlefield could repair itself and soon return to its original state. However, as the two continued to exchange blows, the battlefield's repair speed gradually couldn't keep up with the speed of the cracks. In the end, Chu Bei and Immortal Emperor Qian Tsung left the battlefield that Emperor Yuan had created above the Star Ocean Plaza. The two continued to fight while creating their own battlefield. Every time a battlefield was destroyed, a new one would take its place. The cycle repeated. The two figures intertwined in the vast Star Ocean battlefield. Although they weren't in the same space-time, it gave the spectators the illusion that they were standing very close to each other. However, if one took a closer look, they would feel that they were incomparably ethereal and difficult to capture. It was as if their bodies had merged with the vast starry sky. As time passed, in addition to the collision of the two cauldrons, Chu Bei and Immortal Emperor Qian Tsung also began their so-called hand-to-hand combat. The two supreme existences exchanged fists and palms in a straightforward and direct manner. Every time their fists and palms collided, it would bring about a destructive force. Under the aftershock, the starry sky around them disappeared without a trace. After an unknown period of time, a figure was finally sent flying in the midst of a fusion. He spat out golden blood, and the energy contained in the power of the blood actually crushed that part of the battlefield. Immortal Emperor Qian Tsung is bleeding! Witnessing this scene, the spectating experts gulped. Someone was injured, which meant that the battle wasn't far from ending. Immortal Emperor Qian Tsung lost in the end! All the spectators exclaimed when they saw Immortal Emperor Qian Tsung vomiting blood on the battlefield. Although this was within their expectations, witnessing this scene with their own eyes still made their hearts tremble. However, Just when everyone thought the battle was over, they found that the All-Heavens Shop Master didn't stop attacking. Instead, he took advantage of Immortal Emperor Qian Seng's weakened state to charge forward, held the five-colored cauldron with both hands, and attacked continuously. Although each of Chu Bei's attacks appeared incomparably simple, they contained his strongest power, and he did not hold back in the slightest. He had already been forced to use 150 drops of Source Heaven power, so how could he let Immortal Emperor Qian Seng go so easily? Since he wanted to fight, he had to beat his opponent until he was afraid. Bang! 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 Under Chu Bei's fierce attacks, Immortal Emperor Qian Seng was repeatedly hit by the five-colored cauldron even though he tried to block it. Gradually, Immortal Emperor Qian Seng's aura began to become chaotic, and the amount of Source Heaven power he could mobilize began to decrease from 135 drops to 120 drops. Immortal Emperor Qian Seng's injuries are getting more and more serious. The result of the battle is obvious. Why isn't the owner of the All-Heavens Shop stopping? Is this going to turn into a life-and-death battle? No! Immortal Emperor Qian Seng is an 8-star Immortal Emperor. If he dies, it will be a great loss to the high heavens. Many experts were worried when they saw Immortal Emperor Qian Seng's injuries worsening, but they didn't dare to stop Chu Bei. Pooh! Immortal Emperor Qian Seng spat out another mouthful of blood essence. Immortal Emperor Qian Seng's emotions were complicated. He had thought the All-Heavens Shop Master was a beginner 8-star Immortal Emperor, so he wanted to save face for his direct disciple, who knew he would fail miserably in the end. The All-Heavens Shop Master was an advanced 8-star Immortal Emperor. Immortal Emperor Qian Seng wanted to admit defeat, but he couldn't because of his face. After suffering another heavy blow, Immortal Emperor Qian Seng looked at Immortal Emperor Lan Hui. Chapter 696. Faced with Immortal Emperor Qian Seng's gaze, Immortal Emperor Lan Hui was taken aback at first, but he quickly understood what Immortal Emperor Qian Seng meant. He hurriedly transmitted his voice to the battlefield. Daoist Qian Seng has already admitted defeat. Please stop. I didn't hear him say that. Chu Bei's lips curved into a mocking smile, and the frequency of his attacks increased. Immortal Emperor Qian Seng's expression turned ugly when he heard Chu Bei's words. Chu Bei was clearly not giving him a way out. But in the short few seconds he hesitated, Chu Bei's fierce attacks landed on his body several times. Origin Heaven power turned into a torrential river, invading every part of his body and crazily tearing at him. I've lost this battle! I admit defeat! Immortal Emperor Qian Seng could no longer bear it. He stared at Chu Bei, and his unyielding voice drifted out from the battlefield, echoing throughout high heavens. Chu Bei held the five-colored cauldron and ruthlessly struck Immortal Emperor Qian Seng again. Then, his gaze fell on Immortal Emperor Lan Hui. Immortal Emperor Lan Hui immediately understood and announced, "The All-Heavens Shop Sect Master versus Immortal Emperor Qian Seng. The winner is the All-Heavens Shop Sect Master. Immortal Emperor Qian Seng will be spectating the second battle. Immortal Emperor Haning versus Immortal Emperor Wu Ji on the first battlefield. Immortal Emperor He Luo versus the All-Heavens Shop Sect Master on the second battlefield. There's no need to fight. I admit defeat." Before Immortal Emperor Lan Hui could announce the start of the second battle, Immortal Emperor He Luo, who was the representative of Divine Path Mountain, chose to forfeit. The experts were not surprised by the He Luo Celestial Emperor's decision. In their opinion, Immortal Emperor He Luo had made a wise choice. After all, even Immortal Emperor Qian Seng was no match for the All-Heavens Shop Sect Master, let alone 7-star Immortal Emperors like them. When it came to the third battle, Immortal Emperor Haning, who was the representative of the Dragon Spring Sect, made the same choice. Everyone, this means that the battle between the top experts of the various Emperor-grade factions has come to an end. The All-Heavens Shop Sect Master is the strongest, followed by Immortal Emperor Qian Seng, and Immortal Emperor Haning, who represents the Dragon Spring Sect. The end of the Battle of the Pinnacle Experts also signifies the end of the battle of the Emperor-level factions. Based on the overall ranking, I announced that the number 1 faction in High Heavens is All Heaven's Shop, the number 2 faction is Jianseng Island, the number 3 faction is World Creator Immortal Sect, the number 4 faction is Dragon Spring Sect, and the number 5 faction is Divine Path Mountain. At the edge of the round platform, Immortal Emperor Lan Hui glanced at the experts on the Star Ocean Square with a smile and a loud voice. Compared to the original ranking, there's a big change. Yeah, the All Heavens Shop is a dark horse. Just the disciples alone had 10 immortal emperors. The All Heavens Shop's Gate Master is even a high 8-star expert. The All Heavens Shop is the undisputed number 1. However, the Dragon Spring Sect and Divine Dao Mountain's rankings fell because Immortal Emperor Dragon Spring and Immortal Emperor Divine Dao went into seclusion. Otherwise, he should be 2nd or 3rd. As for the Genesis Immortal Sect, they have Hong Jun Hun Kun, who has become a martial emperor. Although they don't live up to their name, they can still make it into the top 5. Hearing Immortal Emperor Lan Hui announce the result of the battle between the forces, the group of experts immediately began to discuss and clamor. Buzz, buzz, buzz. When Immortal Emperor Lan Hui finished announcing the rankings of the Emperor-level factions in the High Heavens appeared above every city in the Emperor Province of the Great Heavens. Look! The rankings are out. The All Heavens Shop? It's actually number 1. How is that possible? The Dragon Spring Sect and Divine Dao Mountain are actually ranked 3rd and 4th. Who can tell me the details of the battle of the forces in the High Heavens? How did the All Heavens Shop, which was just established within 100 years, suddenly become the number 1 faction? Outside the High Heavens, the experts with average strength were all stunned when they saw the rankings in the sky. When they saw the name of the faction that occupied the number 1 position, their faces were filled with shock and disbelief. The Chaos Great Heavens could be divided into 10,008 regions. Although the Netherworld Great Heavens Shop wasn't one of the 9 strongest regions, it was still one of the top 100 regions. There were 24 immortal emperors in the Netherworld Great Heavens Shop. The 1 Yuan Emperor Province was one of the 24 Emperor Provinces in the Netherworld Great Heavens Shop. This immortal emperor was known as Emperor Yuan. The Heavenly Peak Mountain was located in the center of the 1 Yuan Emperor Province. It was a mountain peak suspended in the starry sky, and it was densely forested. As far as the eye could see, the mountain peak was surrounded by dense immortal qi. Even the dense forest inside had become overflowing with life. Lord Emperor Yuan, the battle of the rankings in the High Heavens is out. The first place is actually the All Heavens Shop. I just received news that the sect master of the All Heavens Shop even defeated Immortal Emperor Qian Tsang, and is an 8-star advanced Immortal Emperor. A quasi-immortal emperor appeared above the Heavenly Peak Mountain with a respectful expression. I didn't expect him to be so powerful. How can I get the method to return to the slope of origin from him? An ethereal voice with a sigh sounded as soon as the quasi-immortal emperor finished speaking. Then, a layer of ripples appeared in the void, and a man in a white robe appeared. He looked in the direction of the Star Ocean Square as if he already knew everything about the battle of the forces before the quasi-immortal emperor reported it. Congratulations, fellow Taoist Chu. The Moonlight Empress, Immortal Emperor Yi Huang, Immortal Emperor Xingqiong, and the others came to Chu Bei one after another and congratulated him. Chu Bei nodded slightly at the Moonlight Empress and the others. Fellow Taoist Chu, Lord Emperor Yuan just came. If you have time, you're welcome to the pavilion. Lord Emperor Yuan has already arranged a meal for you. At this moment, Immortal Emperor Lan Hui also appeared in front of Chu Bei. What? Even Lord Emperor Yuan invited fellow Taoist Chu. As far as I know, millions of years ago, Immortal Emperor Long Quan came to the Origin Sky Pavilion and wanted to discuss the Tao with Lord Emperor Yuan, but he was rejected in the end. Now, Immortal Emperor Long Quan actually took the initiative to invite fellow Taoist Chu to be a guest. Don't forget that the Zero faction also sent an invitation to fellow Taoist Chu. Hearing Immortal Emperor Lan Hui's words, some experts were shocked, while others were relieved. Tell Lord Emperor Yuan that I will definitely be a guest when I have time, Chu Bei said with a faint smile. The All Heavens shop obtained first place in the Battle of the Emperors of the High Heavens. Host's mission is complete. Reward: 150 drops of Origin Heaven power to maintain, 200 drops of Origin Heaven power. New mission activated. The Origin Tool Catalog is about to appear. Host must obtain the Origin Tool Catalog. The region where the Origin Tool Catalog will appear: Sky Market. Just as Chu Bei finished replying to Immortal Emperor Lan Hui, the system's voice rang in his sea of consciousness. At this moment, Chu Bei noticed that the funnel on the system's interface regarding Origin Heaven power had changed. Previously, the 150 drops of Origin Heaven power were blue in color and resembled water droplets. However, when the number was increased to 200 drops, the Origin Heaven power seemed to have undergone a qualitative change and turned into a bright gold color. If it weren't for the fact that it could only be used once, Chu Bei really wanted to use the Origin Heaven power to see what was different about it. After calming down, Chu Bei's attention returned to the new mission. Chapter 697. Origin Tool Catalog? Chu Bei murmured and frowned. There were two reasons why he frowned. First, he did not know much about the so-called Origin Tool Catalog. Second, the system's desire for the Origin Tool Catalog had even exceeded its need for the Source Heaven Stone Mine. It seems like I have to pay attention to Sky Market. Chu Bei narrowed his eyes. Sky Market was one of the 9 strongest regions, just like High Heavens. Moreover, it was ranked 4th, above the former. Since the battle has ended, I'll take my leave. Immortal Emperor Lan Hui waved at the experts. Before he left, he looked at Chu Bei again. Brother Chu, remember to come to Origin Sky Pavilion when you're free. Lord Origin Emperor is waiting for you. As soon as he finished speaking, Immortal Emperor Lan Hui disappeared along with the huge battle stage. After Immortal Emperor Lan Hui left, the other experts looked at each other and left one after another. Because they had won first place in the faction battle, the entire Emperor district was immersed in a joyous atmosphere. In particular, the All Heavens shop held a large-scale carnival. It was exceptionally lively. Brother Sun, Brother Zhu, what's wrong with your auras? In the main hall of the All Heavens shop, the primordial dragon Phoenix was puzzled when he sensed Sun Wukong, Zhu Beiji, Yi Fan, and the others' auras had fallen. When they were in the Star Ocean Plaza, they were still immortal emperors. However, not long after they returned to the All Heavens shop, their cultivation had fallen back to the peak of the quasi-immortal emperor realm. Sun Wukong, Xiao Yan, and the others smiled when they heard the primordial dragon Phoenix's words. To be honest, Brother Dragon Phoenix, we didn't break through. As for the immortal emperor realm, it was given to us by Master. It has a time limit. After that time, our cultivation will naturally return. Of course, it's very beneficial for us to enter the Immortal Emperor realm in advance. Perhaps we can truly enter the Immortal Emperor realm in less than 100 years. What? Enter the Immortal Emperor realm for a short period of time? The primordial dragon Phoenix's pupils suddenly shrank when he heard that. He looked at Chu Bei in shock and disbelief. Even as an ancient race with inherited ancient memories, he had never heard of such a thing. They could enter the Immortal Emperor realm for a short period of time. At this thought, the primordial dragon Phoenix looked at Chu Bei with even more reverence. Disciples, you can stay in the All Heavens shop for a few more days. Let's use this period of time to spar with each other. Chu Bei's gaze swept over Xiao Yan, Yi Fan, and the others as he spoke in a calm voice. Yes, Master. Xiao Yan, Yi Fan, and the others nodded in agreement. In the next few days, the All Heavens shop was still very lively, with people coming and going. Not only did the leaders of the various forces in the High Heavens come to congratulate Chu Bei, but even the experts from the other regions came to offer gifts, wanting to form a good relationship with Chu Bei. As for Chu Bei, after greeting the experts who came to congratulate him, he spent most of his time guiding the disciples. At the same time, he was also paying attention to the 4th major region's Sky Market. At first, there were no unusual movements in the Sky Market. However, on the seventh day, it suddenly became the focus of the entire chaotic heavens. Have you all heard? It's about the sky market. I only know that the sky market has been sealed, but I don't know the details. It's said that the Four Symbol Sect, Boundless Peak, and Brahma Temple have officially started a war. How is that possible? They have been living in harmony for hundreds of millions of years. How can a war break out so suddenly? Who knows? However, they released the news that the sky market has been sealed because of this. It shouldn't be. If there's a war, then there's a war. Why would they seal the sky market? Are they worried that the aftermath of the war will harm the other major regions? There's no reason for them to be worried about this. Anyway, that's all there is to know. If you want to know more, I'm afraid only the people in the sky market will know. However, the sky market has been sealed by all the celestial emperors in the sky market. Even 7-star celestial emperors and 8-star celestial emperors can't enter, let alone us. I have a feeling that things aren't that simple. The so-called war might just be a cover for the outside world. No matter what, something big has happened in the sky market. For a time, all the cultivators in the major regions of the chaos heavens were discussing the sky market intensely. At the same time, the celestial emperors in the major regions looked at the sky market with terrifying gazes. Wisps of divine consciousness that contained celestial emperor power shrouded the sky market, and there was no lack of energy ripples that contained origin heaven power. However, not a single wisp of divine consciousness could enter the sky market. All of them were blocked by the sealing formation outside the sky market. Celestial Emperor Luo Sai, you've always been on good terms with the Boundless Peak Master. Didn't he tell you anything? An emperor's voice sounded. You're also on good terms with the abbot of the Burning Heaven Temple. Did he tell you anything? Another emperor's voice replied. If that's the case, the sky market is really going to change. The emperor's voice spread faintly. In the All-Heavens shop, Chu Bei stood up from his chair. His eyes moved slightly, and his figure disappeared. Where did Master go? It should be related to the sky market. It must be. As long as there is a lively place, Master's figure is always there. But according to the outside world, isn't the sky market already sealed? Given Master's means, are you still worried that he can't enter? In the All-Heavens shop, Xiaoyan, Chen Nan, and the others were discussing and speculating when they noticed that Chu Bei had left. At the same time, outside the vast sky market, there were experts from various major regions. There were celestial kings, quasi-immortal emperors, and there was no lack of perfection celestial emperors. These top experts were scattered in different locations outside the sky market. What they had in common was that they were trying to use their spiritual force to pass through the massive sealing array. Unfortunately, even if they were celestial emperors, no matter how hard they tried, they could not even send a strand of their divine consciousness into the sealing grand formation, let alone the interior of the sky market. Southwest of the sky market, a layer of void rippled, and a man in a purple robe appeared. Isn't that the All-Heavens shop master from the high heavens? He's here too. Do you think he can enter the sky market with his strength? It's very possible. Unlike us, he's an advanced 8-star celestial emperor. It's useless. Celestial Emperor Min Bei from the Hengshui region tried before. He's also an advanced 8-star celestial emperor, but the result was the same as ours. He couldn't even send his divine consciousness in, let alone enter. When the experts saw the purple-robed man's appearance, they were shocked at first, but they quickly retreated. Chu Bei ignored the gazes of the experts around him. He clenched his right fist and threw a punch at the light shield created by the sealing formation. Subsequently, one could hear a low and deep muffled sound coming from the spot where Chu Bei's fist had struck. However, not even a ripple was formed on the light barrier that contained a frightening strength. Chapter 698. Chu Bei frowned slightly. Although he hadn't used all of his source heaven's power, his probing punch had at least reached the level of a 7-star immortal emperor. Interesting, Chubei murmured. If the rumors were true and even an 8-star immortal emperor couldn't break the formation, then he wouldn't even be able to pass the first hurdle, let alone complete the mission. Fellow Taoist Chu, anyone with a discerning eye can tell that the news released by Sky Market is just a cover. Although the four-symbol sect, Boundless Peak, and Brahma Temple don't get along well with each other and have small conflicts, it's impossible for a large-scale battle to erupt, let alone to the extent of sealing off a major region. However, this formation was formed by all the immortal emperors in the Sky Ruins. We have tried, but we can't enter. At this moment, an ethereal emperor's voice sounded. Upon hearing this, Chubei's expression changed. The person who spoke was at the very least an 8-star mid-stage immortal emperor. Fellow Taoist Chu, it's impossible for you to break the formation by yourself. Why don't we join forces and give it a try? That's a good idea, but it'll take some time even if we join forces. I wonder what's happening in Sky Market. Perhaps the formation will break on its own before we can break it. Several immortal emperor voices from different major regions sounded again. Just as Chubei was about to respond, the system panel in his spiritual sea buzzed. In the next moment, Chubei felt as if an unknown mysterious energy had been injected into his body, and his body gradually became transparent. Inexplicably, Chubei suddenly felt as if he had reached an incomparable degree of compatibility with the great formation of the Sky Market. Chubei subconsciously walked toward the light barrier formed by the formation. Chi. Amidst a strange burning sound, Chubei's semi-translucent body began to pass through the light barrier until it disappeared. Did you see that? The All-Heaven Shop Master went in. How is that possible? How did he do it? As an 8-star Immortal Emperor Min Bei had tried all sorts of methods to enter the Grand Formation, yet he was unable to do so. However, the All-Heaven Shop's Gate Master was able to enter so easily. It was as if the Grand Formation did not exist to him. After Chubei successfully entered Sky Market, the surrounding experts were stunned for a moment before they exclaimed in surprise. As expected of the All-Heaven Shop Master. No wonder he was invited by the Zero Faction and Yuan Emperor. Yeah, we can't understand his methods. He's too mysterious. At the same time, the immortal emperors from various major regions also exclaimed in surprise. The Fallen Corpse Mountain, in the Ghost Emperor Province in the southwest of Sky Market. Due to the terrain, the Yin-Chi in this place was extremely dense, and the Yin-Chi was mixed with dense corpse Chi. As the name suggested, the Fallen Corpse Mountain Range was a strange mountain range formed by tombs. There were rumors that countless experts were buried in this mountain range. There were immortal kings, half-immortal emperors, and even immortal emperors. Due to the Mountain T, the fallen ancient immortal mountain range of the mountains B. However, if an expert were to investigate carefully, they would discover that there was a mystery hidden in the forest. These trees that were surrounded by corpse Chi actually formed a large formation. At the center of the formation, there was actually a space barrier that led to another small world. Suddenly, a ripple appeared in the sky above the mountain range, and a figure emerged from the ripple. As soon as Chubei arrived at the Fallen Corpse Mountain Range, he noticed the abnormality. In just a few breaths, he found the entrance to the small world. After hesitating for a moment, Chubei changed his appearance and passed through the spatial barrier. When he arrived at the small world, he saw an extremely high and steep slope. At the end of the slope was a huge valley surrounded by mountains, and within the valley was an incomparably huge black hole. It was like a primordial ferocious beast that was hiding in the darkness, and it was suffused with a terrifying aura that caused one's heart to turn cold. In the depths of the Black Palace was a huge square. On the plaza, black stone pillars that pierced straight into the starry sky were erected one after another. Each of the stone pillars was covered with countless strange runes. Numerous pitch-black chains extended from the stone pillars, intersecting and outlining the air of the square. At the end of these chains, there were bound figures, each with a painful expression, as if they were suffering some kind of unbearable torture. At this moment, the most mournful howl of pain came from the center of the square. A huge 8 trigrams furnace was suspended in the center. The furnace had 8 corners, and each corner was engraved with a different divine beast pattern. Black runes could be faintly seen, emitting a hair-raising light. The most mournful wail came from within the cauldron. Upon closer inspection, although it looked like an alchemy cauldron, what was being refined was not a pill, but a living person. It was a middle-aged man. His whole body was bound by strange runes, and 9 different kinds of flames continued to burn his body. His struggling body, twisted expression, and even his divine soul could be faintly seen slowly leaving his body. What do you think Lord Kuhi did wrong for His Majesty to treat him like this? This has nothing to do with us. Don't ask too much. Just do what His Majesty ordered. Could it be related to the sealing of Sky Market? What happened in the outside world? Even His Majesty left. Chapter 699. The seal is gone! What? What's going on? The 18 quasi-immortal emperors looked at each other in dismay, their faces full of shock. At the same time, Kuhi, who was in the furnace, also had a look of disbelief. Although his self-destruction had been suppressed, the seal that was originally placed on him by the immortal emperor had also disappeared. Who? With a bang, the pill furnace exploded, and Kuhi flew out from it. Then, he released his divine sense and scanned the surroundings. I was passing by and saw that you were pitiful, so I did it on the way. A calm voice sounded, and a young man in a green robe appeared. This young man was naturally Chubei, but he had changed his appearance. Who are you? Kuhi frowned slightly and sized up Chubei warily. In this world, only immortal emperors could casually break the seal of an immortal emperor. The reason why his expression was so serious was because the aura of the man in front of him did not belong to any immortal emperor that he knew of in the Sky Market. If the other party came from another large region, it would be even more unbelievable. The Sky Market array was formed by gathering all the immortal emperors. Immortal emperors from other large regions could not enter at all. No matter who he is, take him down first! Seeing the newcomer, the 18 quasi-immortal emperors shouted and burst out with majestic immortal power at the same time. However, just as they attacked, their bodies flew out inexplicably with a bang, as if they were severely injured by an invisible force. Immediately, they spat out blood and could not move. Immortal! Immortal Emperor! The 18 quasi-immortal emperors' faces turned pale, and they collapsed on the ground. After looking at each other, their gazes landed on Chubei again, and there was some fear between their brows. Chubei ignored the 18 quasi-immortal emperors. Instead, he looked at Kuhi with a playful look in his eyes. I'm very curious. You are from the same sect as them. Why did they treat you like this? Kuhi stared at Chubei warily and did not make any reply. I heard your roar in the furnace earlier. It seemed that you wanted to kill the guy who sealed you. Perhaps I can help you along the way. The corners of Chubei's lips curled into a smile. His words turned cold as he said, But if you continue to remain silent, I don't mind sealing you in place of the person you want to kill. Meeting Chubei's cold gaze, Kuhi's expression changed slightly. After a moment of hesitation, he asked, Sir Immortal Emperor, are you from outside the Sky Market? That's right. Chubei nodded. But as far as I know, the Sky Market has already been sealed off. Powerhouses from other regions cannot enter at all. I am very curious, Your Excellency the Immortal Emperor, how did you get in here? Kuhi's face was filled with confusion. Answer my question, not make me answer yours. Chubei's expression grew colder. Hearing this, Kuhi turned to look at the 18 quasi-immortal emperors. After sealing the 18 of them, he looked at Chubei and said, Lord Immortal Emperor, you must have entered the Sky Market because of the sealing array. To the outside world, the news released by Sky Market was that the four-symbol sect, Boundless Peak, and Brahma Temple were at war. In reality, it was not that the forces were at war, but that an Emperor artifact had appeared in the sky market. Although I don't know what this Emperor artifact is, it must be extremely important. When this Emperor artifact appeared, even the 6-star, 7-star, and 8-star immortal emperors who were in seclusion all moved out. From this, we can see the value of this Emperor artifact. After listening to Ku-He, Chu-Bei already knew in his heart that this Emperor artifact was the origin artifact list that the system wanted. We are all from the same sect. Why did they restrain you? Chu-Bei stretched out his hand and pointed at the 18 quasi-immortal emperors who were sealed. It was an order from the corpse ghost immortal emperor. The reason why he did this was probably because he was worried that I would leak the information about the Emperor artifact. After all, before I joined the corpse ghost immortal emperor, I did not belong to the sky market. I came from another large region. However, I did not expect that he would use the method of refining my soul to seal my mouth. Ku-He's expression became more and more unsightly, and the killing intent in his eyes became more intense. Do you know where this Emperor artifact is now? Chu-Bei asked and went straight to the point. Three-Finger Emperor Province, Bloody Spectre Mountain. Ku-He hesitated for a moment and said the name of the place. I understand. Chu-Bei nodded and replied. He sent a wisp of divine consciousness into the consciousness of the 18 Emperor Province's people. After stripping their memories, he turned around and left. Seeing that Chu-Bei had left, Ku-He was stunned for a moment. After undoing the seals on his subordinates in the square, he also disappeared. Three-Finger Emperor Province, the 4th Emperor Province in the Sky Market. The master of this province was the Three-Finger Immortal Emperor. His strength was second only to the sect master of the Four-Symbol Sect, the peak master of the Boundless Peak, and the abbot of the Brahma Temple. He was the 4th strongest immortal emperor in the Sky Market. It was said that the Three-Finger Immortal Emperor had the strongest 3 fingers. These 3 fingers did not refer to fingers, but the 3 strongest killing emperor techniques. What was even more terrifying was that the 3 killing techniques of the Three-Finger Immortal Emperor complemented each other, and their power could be multiplied. It was extremely terrifying. Boom! Just as Chu-Bei entered the Three-Finger Emperor Province, he heard a loud explosion. Accompanied by this explosion, a blood-purple rainbow light lit up in the southeastern area of the Emperor Province. Immediately after, a strange aura spread out from the blood-purple rainbow light and instantly swept to the area where Chu-Bei was. That's the root cause of the Sky Market's lockdown this time. An Emperor artifact that's about to be born. Ku-He appeared behind Chu-Bei and pointed at the location of the blood-purple rainbow light. Why did you follow me? Chu-Bei glanced at Ku-He indifferently and frowned slightly. From the looks of it, Sir Immortal Emperor, you should want to obtain this Emperor artifact. The Celestial Emperor helped me escape. If you encounter any trouble in the future, I can offer my meager help to show my gratitude. Ku-He saluted Chu-Bei with his fists clasped. He was very respectful. When that time comes, I'm afraid you'll run away faster than this king. Chu-Bei no longer paid any attention to this perfected quasi-immortal emperor behind him who was obviously here to watch the show. According to his detection, there were 61 immortal emperors in the direction of the blood-purple rainbow light. Among them, there were 5 auras that were even stronger than Immortal Emperor Qiansong. In other words, there were 5 immortal emperors above the intermediate 8-star stage scattered around the blood-purple rainbow light. After hesitating for a moment, Chu-Bei restrained his aura to the extreme and took a step forward. In an instant, Chu-Bei crossed the mountains and rivers that contained mysterious power and arrived at a vast flat area. Although there were very few trees here, the spirit qi that filled the air was even denser. Looking around, this area that should have been incomparably prosperous had almost turned into ruins. From the piles of rubble that were piled up like small mountains, one could vaguely feel an extremely strange residual power. The reason this place became like this is all because of the energy shock wave brought about by the birth of the Emperor artifact. Ku-He said again. At the same time, he pointed to the southeast. That mountain is the Bloody Ghost Mountain. Chapter 700. In the direction that Ku-he was pointing at, a blood-red mountain covered in ripples was faintly discernible. Looking closely, there were no trees or beasts in the mountain. Above the circular mountain pass was the so-called Emperor treasure. As for the surroundings of the mountain pass, there were countless powerful figures gathered. Even the weakest among them had already entered the sixth heaven of the immortal king realm. Half of them were quasi-immortal emperors. It could be said that the top experts of the entire sky market were gathered around the bloody spectre mountain. Of course, from the way these experts were dressed, they could be divided into nearly 100 factions. Some of the experts wore robes with a ferocious white tiger with its bloody mouth open on the back. Some of the experts wore robes with a fierce long sword on the chest. Some of the experts wore robes with a crimson divine dragon on the back. Some of the experts wore robes with an ancient mammoth with a tortoise shell on its back. All of them were different. Among the 100 or so forces, there were 5 that attracted the most attention. Among these 5 factions, other than the founder whose aura was above immortal Emperor Qianzang's, there were also other high-level immortal emperors. Immortal Emperor, you should be very familiar with the sky market. For Symbol Sect, Boundless Peak, Brahma Temple, Three-Finger Immortal Sect, and Nether Sea Valley are the 5 strongest factions in the sky market. Especially the leaders of the top 3 forces. It is said that they have already reached the peak of the 8 stars realm and are only 1 step away from entering the 9 stars realm. Ku-he stretched out his hand and pointed in the direction of the 5 forces as he spoke to Chu Bei. Chu Bei glanced indifferently at Ku-he. He did not respond. He quietly hid himself in the army of one of the powers. He watched the movements of the blood-purple light above the mountain pass and waited quietly. Immortal Emperor, are you waiting for the right time to attack? Ku-he came to Chu Bei's side. Immortal Emperor, this sky market can no longer accommodate me. Can I join your faction? If you continue to talk, I don't mind making you unable to open your mouth forever. Hearing Ku-he's chattering, Chu Bei's face darkened, and a cold, killing intent surged in his eyes. Hearing this, Ku-he immediately shut his mouth and did not say another word. What do you think it is? You can actually block our attack. A voice came from the direction of Boundless Peak, the second most powerful force in Sky Market. The person who spoke was a tall and thin old man. He looked like a javelin, and his hair and beard were all dark green. He stood there quietly, his entire being giving off an illusory feeling, as if he was an illusion. The old man's monarch title was Boundless. He was the Peak Master of Boundless Peak, the second strongest person in Sky Market. There are no records about it. Perhaps we can only find out when it fully emerges. In the direction of the Burning Heaven Temple, a fat old man with a bald head and a resplendent Dharma idol behind him responded. He was the abbot of the Burning Heaven Temple, the third strongest expert in the Sky Market. Do you think those guys outside will believe our excuses? The person who spoke was a middle-aged man in a red robe. His face was expressionless, or rather, his face was completely stiff, and his cheeks were sunken. However, if one were to look closely, they would discover that there were 3 fingers on his right hand that were emitting terrifying energy fluctuations. He was Immortal Emperor Three Fingers, the Lord of the Emperor State, and the 4th strongest expert in the Sky Market. Even Yuan Di wouldn't be able to break the seal in a short period of time. By the time the seal is broken, we will have obtained this item. It doesn't matter whether they believe our excuses or not. At this moment, an old man with silver hair and a goatee spoke. He narrowed his eyes and fixed his gaze on the blood-purple light above the bloody spectre mountain. He was the sect master of the 4-symbol sect, the strongest expert in the Sky Market, and the 6th strongest on the Immortal Emperor leaderboard in the entire chaotic universe. Buzz buzz, suddenly, the blood-purple light above the mountain entrance let out a buzzing sound. It's moving! It's moving! The light of the Emperor artifact is fading. We can vaguely see it. A brick? The Emperor artifact is actually a brick. Gradually, the blood-purple light disappeared, revealing the appearance of the object inside. However, the moment they saw the object's appearance, The eyes of the experts around the bloody spectre mountain shrank, and they could not help but exclaim. Even the sect master of the Four Symbols sect, Immortal Emperor Wuya, Immortal Emperor Three Fingers, and the others had a strange expression. They looked at each other with surprise in their eyes. The so-called Emperor artifact was actually a pitch-black stone brick. There must be something strange about it. The sect master of the Four Symbols sect frowned. After he finished speaking, he stretched out his hand to grab the black brick. Boom! However, just as the sect master of the Four Symbols sect's hand was about to land on the black brick, a light shield appeared on the surface of the black brick and blocked the huge hand. Accompanied by a low muffled sound, the mysterious power on the light shield actually repelled the huge hand. The Origin Artifact Catalog has appeared. Host must obtain it. At this moment, the system's voice rang in Chu Bei's mind again. What kind of power is that? It's the Four Symbols Immortal Emperor. The strongest expert in the sky market. He's someone who is infinitely close to being 9 stars. Even he can't get the brick. Judging from this brick is definitely an Emperor artifact. And it's a peerless Emperor artifact. Seeing the Four Symbols Immortal Emperor's huge hand being repelled, the experts' expressions became even more shocked. Let's attack together and take it down. After we study it thoroughly, we'll decide who it belongs to. The Four Symbols Immortal Emperor swept his gaze across the other Immortal Emperors. Okay. Since these Immortal Emperors had experienced the terrifying defense of the blood-purple light ball before, they all nodded in agreement when the Four Symbols Immortal Emperor spoke. Rumble! In the next moment, dozens of Immortal Emperor auras burst forth from the surroundings of the bloody Spectre Mountain. Including the Four Symbols Immortal Emperor, a total of 61 Immortal Emperors attacked at the same time. Amidst the booming sounds, 61 terrifying beams of light carrying the Immortal Emperor's power shot toward the light shield outside the black brick from all directions. Among them, there was no lack of Source Heaven energy. Damn it! It's actually so sturdy. Looking at the light shield that was still intact even after combining all the Immortal Emperor's powers, one of the Immortal Emperors cried out. Perhaps this item is a blessing for the sky market. The Four Symbols Immortal Emperor said. Before the seal is broken, we must obtain this Emperor artifact. When those fellows outside come in, I'm afraid this Emperor artifact will no longer belong to the sky market. Lord Immortal Emperor, do you see that? All the Immortal Emperors in the sky market can't do anything to that Emperor artifact. You can imagine how terrifying it is. He pointed at the black brick as he tilted his head to look at Chu Bei. Chu Bei still ignored He. His attention was completely focused on the black brick. When he confirmed that the black brick was the Origin Artifact Catalog that the system wanted, he had mixed feelings. In his opinion, since it was a catalog, it should be from a sheepskin scroll or a book. Unexpectedly, it was a huge black brick. All of you, attack together. At this moment, the Four Symbols Immortal Emperor ordered the experts below the Immortal Emperor stage. Upon hearing this, the other experts around the bloody Spectre Mountain did not dare to hesitate. They immediately gathered their strongest power and landed it on the light shield outside the black brick. Chapter 701. Chi. Time ticked by. It's working! There's a crack! One of the Celestial Emperors exclaimed excitedly after some time had passed. A crack had appeared on the surface of the black brick, and the crack was spreading at a speed visible to the naked eye. Boom! Another 15 minutes passed. Finally, with a loud explosion, the light barrier around the black brick completely exploded. At the same time, the terrifying energy from the explosion instantly destroyed all the attacks from the Celestial Emperors. There are flashing runes on it. These runes are very strange. I can't help but feel my heart palpitate when I look at them. Let's take it first and study it when we get back. When the light barrier broke, the Celestial Emperors, including the 4 phenomenon Celestial Emperors, sensed the aura flowing on the black brick and the pulsating mysterious runes. However, just as they were about to grab the black brick, a terrifying surge of Genesis heaven energy suddenly surged out from the black brick. In the next instant, a huge hand appeared out of thin air. "Who's there?" the 4 phenomenon celestial emperors bellowed when they saw the huge hand. Then, they attacked together with the other celestial emperors. At the same time, the huge hand that appeared out of thin air also released an unparalleled surge of Genesis heaven energy. Instantly, 2 terrifying forces collided at the location of the black brick. Boom! A deafening explosion rang out as the 2 forces cancelled each other out. Subsequently, a young man in a green robe appeared on top of the black brick. "Who's that? Where did he come from? He managed to block the 4 phenomenon celestial emperor's attack. No, to be precise, he's the joint attack of all the celestial emperors in the sky market." The sky market experts began to discuss among themselves when they saw the unfamiliar young man on top of the black brick. "Cultivator Chu, do you think I won't recognize you just because you changed your appearance?" The 4 phenomenon celestial emperors frowned as they stared at the young man with an ugly expression. Apart from him, Wuya, Sanji, and the other celestial emperors also recognized Chu Bei. Their expressions turned solemn. Seeing that the 4 phenomenon celestial emperors had recognized him, Chu Bei no longer concealed himself. He changed his appearance, and revealed his true appearance. "It's really the All-Heaven shop leader! Sky Market is sealed, how did he get in? Moreover, even if he's an 8-star advanced cultivator, he won't be able to easily withstand the combined attacks of all the immortal emperors. Moreover, the 4 phenomenon Immortal Emperor Wuya, and the Brahma Heaven Immortal Emperor are infinitely close to the 9 stars. Any one of them should be stronger than the All-Heaven shop master." After Chu Bei revealed his true appearance, the expressions of the group of sky market powerhouses changed with a whoosh. The weakest among the people present was already at the 6th heaven of the Immortal King realm. They were especially concerned about the great domain of the chaos. They were naturally aware of Chu Bei's performance in the battle in the high heavens. "I didn't expect this to be your true strength. You were still hiding something during the battle with Qian-Tsang. You should have already stepped into the realm of 9 stars." The 4 phenomenon celestial emperors, Wuya Celestial Emperor, Brahma Heaven Celestial Emperor, and other top experts fixed their eyes on Chu Bei. "What? The All-Heaven shop master has stepped into the realm of 9 stars. Doesn't that mean he's stronger than the 4 phenomenon celestial emperors? No wonder Emperor Yuan invited him to the Origin Sky Pavilion." The other experts were shocked when they heard the 4 phenomenon celestial emperor's words. "The person who saved me is the All-Heaven shop master." In the sea of people, He stared at Chu Bei in a daze. His expression was somewhat absent-minded. "He's even a 9-star celestial emperor. If he joins the All-Heaven shop." After regaining his senses, an excited expression appeared on He's face. "I've lost this item before, so I need to take it away. I hope you won't stop me." Chu Bei glanced at the 4 phenomenon celestial emperors and the others as he pointed at the black brick. "You lost it? Fellow Taoist Chu, you must be joking." The 4 phenomenon celestial emperor sneered. "You're not the only one who witnessed its birth," Wuya Celestial Emperor said. "Fellow Taoist Chu, isn't this reason a little too far-fetched? I don't care what you think, but I must take this item away," Chu Bei said coldly. "So what if you're a 9-star celestial emperor? Do you think you can take the emperor artifact from all the celestial emperors in Sky Market by yourself?" The 4 phenomenon celestial emperor stared coldly at Chu Bei. His aura began to rise as 190 drops of Genesis heaven power appeared around him. At the same time, 180 drops of Genesis heaven power appeared around Wuya Celestial Emperor and the Brahma Heaven Celestial Emperor. As for Celestial Emperor Three Fingers, he had 160 drops of Genesis heaven power. Chu Bei narrowed his eyes when he sensed the auras surging toward him. Sky Market was indeed stronger than High Heavens. The Celestial Emperors in Sky Market stared coldly at Chu Bei from above Blood Spectre Mountain. The four-phenomenon celestial emperor frowned and no longer spoke. Instead, he pointed his right hand at Chu Bei. With a buzzing sound, 9 dazzling rays of divine light shot out from his palm. Every ray of divine light was composed of Genesis heaven power. The moment they shot out, the 9 azure divine lights intertwined together, releasing a terrifying aura that soared after they fused. At the same time, a celestial emperor, the Brahma heaven celestial emperor, and the other celestial emperors also attacked. Terrifying killing techniques that contained Genesis heaven power blasted toward Chu Bei. Rumble! On the battlefield, all the celestial emperors in Sky Market were targeting Chu Bei. The majestic Genesis heaven aura was suffocating. The experts below the immortal emperor realm stared blankly at the battlefield. They held their breaths and stared unblinkingly at Chu Bei, who remained unmoved. However, just as the terrifying attacks led by the four-phenomenon celestial emperors were about to land on Chu Bei from all directions, a golden river suddenly gushed out from his body. Splash! The golden river blocked the joint attack of the four-phenomenon celestial emperors and the other powerhouses amidst the sound of surging water. He blocked it! He blocked the attacks of all the celestial emperors in Sky Market by himself. Has the All-Heaven Shop's store master already become this powerful? Was that Genesis heaven power? But why is it golden? The experts who were watching the battle stared at the battlefield in a daze. The battlefield had calmed down, but they had yet to recover from the shock of the collision between the two terrifying forces. Golden Genesis heaven power! You've entered the 9-star stage! And the advanced stage! The pupils of the four-phenomenon celestial emperors, a celestial emperor, and the other celestial emperors suddenly shrank. Their expressions grew increasingly solemn as they stared at the golden river surrounding Chu Bei. When a celestial emperor broke through the 8-star stage and entered the 9-star stage, the Genesis heaven power would undergo a qualitative change. Its color would change from blue to gold. Chapter 702. I'll definitely take away what's mine. If any of you want to stop me, feel free to try. Chu Bei swept his gaze across the four-phenomenon celestial emperors and the others. As soon as he finished speaking, he waved his right hand in the air, emitting a faint glow. The surrounding Genesis heaven power immediately transformed into a giant hand that grabbed at the pitch-black brick below. This belongs to Heavenly Market. Even if you're at the 9-star stage, you won't be able to take it away, the four-phenomenon celestial emperors said coldly. Then, they joined forces with the other celestial emperors and attacked together to prevent Chu Bei from taking the black brick away. Buzz buzz, however, this time, when the two terrifying Genesis heaven energy collided with the black brick, the latter suddenly trembled and emitted a strange buzzing sound. In the next instant, it spewed out a black divine light that shrouded the entire three-fingered emperor province, and quickly spread to the entire heavenly market. In an instant, the originally bright heavenly market turned into a world of endless darkness. It was pitch black, and nothing could be seen. Food, all of you will be my food! Delicious food! Before the heavenly market experts could react to what had happened, a deep voice that seemed to come from the abyss rang in their minds, causing their hearts to palpitate. At that moment, in the endless darkness, they saw a pair of incomparably huge and strange eyes at the spot where the black brick was located. The eyes were blood-red and had mysterious runes that made one's heart tremble. What's going on? Was it talking just now? Where did it come from? What does it have to do with the Emperor artifact? The group of celestial emperors stared blankly at the pair of blood-red eyes, their faces filled with confusion. They extended their divine consciousness, only to discover that the moment their divine consciousness came into contact with the blood-red eyes, it would mysteriously disappear. It was extremely strange. So, it's guarding it. At that moment, in addition to the deep voice that seemed to come from the abyss, another voice rang in Chu Bei's mind. When Chu Bei heard the voice, he shuddered. It was as though his entire body had been injected with a bone-chilling cold that could not be resisted. Ever since the system was activated, every sound it made was extremely stiff, just like a machine. However, this time, it sounded like an ordinary creature was speaking. This was something that had never happened before. "Host, its appearance is beyond my expectations. Maybe I'll have to sleep for a while." The system's voice once again rang out in Chubei's mind, but before the confused Chubei could open his mouth to ask anything, the system interface flew out of his mind. "Which one are you?" Chapter 703. Have you heard about what happened in Sky Market? The news has already spread. Of course we know. I didn't expect Sky Market to suffer such a calamity this time. Everyone below the 8 stars Celestial Emperor realm is dead. In billions of years, Sky Market is probably the first great region to truly wither away. Even the realm wall is destroyed. But speaking of which, what are those blood-red eyes that the 4 phenomenon Celestial Emperors mentioned? They're even more terrifying than 9 stars Celestial Emperors. Speaking of 9 stars Celestial Emperors, who would have thought that the All-Heaven Shop Sect Master was at this realm? He's already at the same level as Lord Origin Emperor. It's a pity that even an existence like the All-Heaven Shop Sect Master died under those blood-red eyes. But what makes me depressed is that even the All-Heaven Shop Sect Master died. How did the 4 phenomenon Celestial Emperors, Immortal Emperor Wuya, and the others survive? Also, where did the blood-red eyes, the golden disc, and the brick-like Emperor artifact go? Experts in every corner of the Primal Chaos Great Regions were discussing intensely. 9 stars Celestial Emperors, fellow Taoist Chu really hid his strength well. Fortunately, our cultivation realm isn't high enough, so we can't ignore the ceiling formation like he did. Otherwise, we might have died in that explosion too. Immortal Emperor experts' divine wills intertwined as they communicated with each other. Above high heavens. All Heaven Shop's Emperor Province, fellow Taoist Chu's palace. Master can't have died. It's impossible. When Yifan, Chennan, Shihao, and the others heard the news, their faces immediately turned gray, and their bodies inexplicably staggered. Master's strength is unfathomable. It's impossible to estimate. How could he die in an explosion? That's right. Moreover, even the 4 phenomenon Celestial Emperors and Immortal Emperor Wuya didn't die. Master is stronger than them, so how could he die? In my opinion, Master must have killed the blood-red eyes and left with the Brick Emperor artifact. Xiao Yan, Tang San, and the other personal disciples couldn't accept this news, and they all spoke out one after another. However, not long after they finished speaking, their faces became even darker. This was because they suddenly realized that the force that had summoned them back to the chaotic heavens was slowly disappearing. This vast world was beginning to reject them. Gradually, Xiao Yan, Tang San, Chen Nan, Yifan, Shihao, Jun Mo Xie, Luo Feng, and Lin Li's bodies gradually became transparent. With a wing sound, they disappeared. Brother Xiao, Brother Tang, and the others have been sent back to their respective space-time? Master's power has disappeared. Could it be that the old man has really fallen? No, that won't happen. Sun Wukong, Zhu Beiji, Monk Sand, the Golden Cicada, and Ao Lai looked at each other and mumbled to themselves as they watched Xiao Yan, Yi Fan, and the others disappear. On this day, the 9 stars Celestial Emperors from the Zero faction found the 4 phenomenon Celestial Emperors and took him away. Apart from the Zero faction, many other mysterious factions that transcended the Emperor level ranking appeared one after another. They each chose the 8 stars Celestial Emperors who survived the Sky Market explosion and took them away. After witnessing this scene, the great beings of the chaotic heavens became even more aware of how terrifying these mysterious factions were. Yuan Di, 9 stars, number 1 on the Celestial Emperor ranking. Unexpectedly, these transcendent factions could actually send 9 stars celestial emperors. Moreover, it seemed like these 9 stars celestial emperors weren't the strongest of these transcendent factions. The appearance of these mysterious factions also allowed all the great beings to vaguely understand the other side of the chaotic heavens. Although the 12 celestial emperors of the sky market were taken away, the discussions about the sky market were still intense. In the sky market explosion, a total of 62 celestial emperors, including the leader of the All Heavens shop, died, and only 12 survived. For this reason, this day was also known as the Day of the Fallen Emperors. At the same time, in a strange and mysterious azure space-time tunnel, a young man in a purple robe was lying on his back in a long river of runes. His eyes were tightly shut, and if it weren't for the faintly discernible aura fluctuations, one would think that he was a corpse. Around his body, a pitch-black brick was floating up and down, emitting a faint light. On the surface of the brick, runes jumped and intertwined, continuously forming 18 mysterious illusions. It was very magical. Under the scouring of the long river of runes, the pitch-black brick slowly approached the young man's head and finally sank into his glabella. This young man was naturally Chu Bei, who died in the sky market explosion. When the pitch-black brick completely sank into Chu Bei's glabella, the azure space-time tunnel suddenly trembled and shook violently as if it could collapse at any time. After an unknown period of time, a ray of white light finally appeared in the space-time tunnel, as if it was the end of the tunnel. Chu Bei's body was slowly pushed into the white light as if he had been hit by an invisible force. In a remote mountain village in a continuous mountain range, in a shabby wooden house, a young man in a purple robe was lying horizontally. Creak! Accompanied by the ear-piercing sound of the bed, the young man slowly opened his eyes. Hiss! When the young man woke up, he subconsciously wanted to get up. However, before he could support his hands on the bed, a tearing pain came from all over his body. This pain seemed to come from every cell in his body, and it was unbearable for ordinary people. The young man inhaled a breath of cold air and could only give up struggling. He turned his neck slightly and looked around. This was a very simple and crude room. Apart from some wooden furniture, there was also a small iron kettle that was steaming with rust. He really survived. The young man was none other than Chu Bei. Before the sky market explosion, he only knew that the system in his sea of consciousness had fought with the owner of the pair of blood-red eyes. It was only one collision that caused the explosion. As for the owner of the pair of blood-red eyes, he did not know where he went. However, the system had fallen into a long slumber. His sea of consciousness was now in chaos. The system interface, the Bodhi tree, the path understanding tree, the world seed, and everything else seemed to have been sealed. Only the black brick-like origin tool chart was floating up and down in his sea of consciousness, bringing with it mysterious runes from time to time. The most frightening thing was that not only did everything given by the system return to zero, but he also lost control of his own strength, as if it had been sealed and imprisoned. This feeling was as if his body had turned into a boundless and enormous energy reservoir, and this energy reservoir was sealed by a door, and he needed a key to open this door. Coincidentally, he did not know where to get this key. Even my divine consciousness can't leave my body. Where do I go from here? After checking the condition of his body, Chu Bei shook his head and sighed. There was a hint of self-mockery in his words. Chapter 704. On the wooden bed, Chu Bei pondered over his next course of action. He tried his best to endure the pain and raise his head. At this moment, he realized that he had been wrapped in white cloth and had turned into a mummy. The thick and pungent smell of herbs was wafting out from the cloth. Did some kind-hearted person do this? But they used it in the wrong place. Chu Bei smiled knowingly as he looked at the layers of cloth covering his body. At this moment, the wooden door was gently pushed open with a creak. A petite figure appeared in Chu Bei's line of sight. Ah! You're finally awake! A clear and pleasant voice filled with excitement entered Chu Bei's ears. It was a 16 or 17-year-old girl wearing a long pink dress. She gave off a pure and pleasant feeling. She had a head of naturally flowing jet black hair, fair skin, and a pair of extremely clear big eyes. When she saw that Chu Bei had woken up, the girl in pink hurried over to the bed and carefully supported his back. The corners of her lips curled into an angelic smile. You're finally awake. You've been unconscious for 3 months. That day, Disha and I went up the mountain to pick herbs. When we saw you lying on the ground without moving at all and couldn't wake you up no matter how hard we tried, Disha and I decided to bring you back. However, it's strange. There are many jackals and wolves in the mountain, but you don't have a single wound on your body. At this point, the girl in pink bit her lip gently. You were unconscious, but there were no wounds on your body. I couldn't use any medicine on you, so I could only wrap your entire body up. 3 months have passed and everyone in the village said that you couldn't be saved and would never wake up. They said that we shouldn't waste any more time and should find a mountain to bury you. However, I had a feeling that you would wake up. It's a good thing that you really did wake up. Otherwise, I really wouldn't know what to do. Thank you. For some reason, Chu Bei wanted to reach out and touch the girl in pink's forehead. However, the moment he raised his arm, a piercing pain rose. Immediately, there was another round of gasps. In the end, Chu Bei could only spit out these 2 simple words. You haven't recovered yet, you can't move. Seeing Chu Bei's pained expression, the girl in pink was clearly anxious. She hurriedly said, Continue lying down. I'll get Grandpa Moo's wheelchair for you. If you want to go out and get some fresh air, I'll push you. The girl in pink calmly placed Chu Bei back on the bed and quickly left. He's even worse off than an ordinary person. Looking at the back of the girl in pink, Chu Bei let out another sigh. At that moment, the system fell into a deep slumber. His body was in a condition, and he couldn't even use his spiritual sense. This directly caused him to become an ordinary person. Due to the fact that he could not move at all, he was even worse than an ordinary person. Just as Chu Bei was deep in thought about life once again, the girl in pink returned with cheerful steps. At the same time, she brought with her a pure wooden wheelchair. Looking at the wooden grain on the wheelchair, it seemed to have been there for a few days and months. My name is Xiaohe, what's your name? Where are you from? Why did you faint in the mountains? Were you there to pick herbs too? The pure and beautiful girl in pink struggled to lift Chu Bei onto the wheelchair. She wiped the sweat from her forehead and 2 sweet little dimples appeared on her cheeks. At the same time, her beautiful eyes were filled with confusion. Chu Bei. Meeting the girl in pink's gaze, Chu Bei's lips moved slightly. Where I came from and why I fainted, I can't remember. Ah? Don't tell me you lost your memory! Hearing Chu Bei's words, the girl in pink's mouth opened wide. Her big, watery eyes were filled with astonishment. After a long while, she calmed down and continued. Since you don't know where you came from, you can continue to stay with me. You look older than me, so I'll call you Big Brother Chu from now on. Chu Bei nodded slightly and said, Xiaohe, where is this? How much do you know about this world? Xiaohe pondered for a moment, then told him everything she knew. Is that all you know? Chu Bei continued. Yes. Xiaohe nodded her head seriously. This was a small mountain village with the surname Mu as the main surname. 90% of the villagers had the surname Mu. The full name of the girl in pink in front of him was Mu He. The mountain range outside the village was called the Broken Chi Mountains and was thousands of kilometers wide. Due to its vast area, the villagers had lived here for generations and were unable to walk out of the mountain range. However, Chu Bei learned from Xiaohe that there were still traces of cultivators in this world. At the very least, the immortals who could fly were cultivators. As long as he could find cultivators, he would truly understand this world. You've been unconscious for so long. Let me push you outside to get some fresh air. With that, before Chu Bei could respond, Xiaohe had already pushed Chu Bei out of the house. After leaving the house, Chu Bei looked around. Just as Xiao He said, there were towering mountains and forests in the distance. As for the mountain village he was in, there were wooden houses everywhere. Although they were simple and crude, they were neatly arranged. Not long after Xiao He pushed Chu Bei out of the house, a group of children who were playing on a spacious mountainous area not far away immediately ran over. Sister Xiao He, he's awake! Father even said that you're stupid. He said you brought back a living dead. Are his legs crippled? Why is he sitting in Grandpa Mu's wheelchair? A group of 6 or 7-year-old children immediately surrounded Chu Bei and chattered non-stop. It was also at this moment that an incomparably tall and sturdy man hopped over from the east. He's awake! Xiao He, he's really awake! Our medicine is still effective! The tall man's face was filled with excitement. He held a blade of grass in his hand and put it in his mouth. This is the big fool I mentioned to you. Don't be fooled by his big body, his intelligence is still a child. Little he pulled the big tall man to her side and said while looking at Chu Bei. Thud, thud, thud. At this time, there was a sudden rush of footsteps not far away, and the dust on the ground rose. Then several big men, each holding a hoe and a sickle, ran over quickly. Hurry up! We can't let that animal hurt our villagers! The leader shouted. Hey, you're alive! Look at you! It's obviously not recovered from a serious illness. It's windy outside. Go back to the house. Yes, your life is Xiao He's. Don't go back to sleep after waking up. When the group of big men saw Chu Bei, they talked one after another. Uncle Gotzi, what's going on? What are you doing in such a hurry with knives in your hands? Xiao He asked quickly when she saw the big men fully armed. Chapter 705. A ferocious beast just ran down from the mountain. It seemed to be extremely hungry and came to our village to eat people. Fortunately, someone discovered it in time. Otherwise, who knows how many children would have been hurt. We are now rushing over to help. I won't talk to you anymore. It won't be good if we delay the time. You newcomer, wait for us to slaughter that beast. Tonight, we will hold a beast feast. At that time, we will let you have a taste of our village's barbecue skills. As they spoke, the group of burly men hurriedly ran in a direction. Sister Xiao He, we are going to watch the show. The group of children dispersed in a hubbub. Are we going? Desha looked at Xiao He. Xiao He hesitated for a moment, and then lowered her head to look at Chu Bei in the wheelchair. Big brother Chu, let me push you back to the house first. No, since all of you are going, push me as well, Chu Bei said. Okay. Meeting Chu Bei's determined gaze, Xiao He lightly bit her lips and agreed. However, in order to save time, the person pushing the wheelchair was changed to Desha. After turning around a few village paths, Chu Bei saw a group of people in his line of sight. At this moment, the men, women, and children of the village were gathered on a spacious flat ground. From time to time, the angry shouts of humans and the roars of ferocious beasts could be heard. Coming to the crowd, Chu Bei saw several burly men fighting with a ferocious beast. He saw that the ferocious beast's body was extremely huge. It was twice the size of an ordinary lion or tiger. Its body was incomparably sturdy. One could see the bulging muscles on its thick limbs. When it opened its mouth to roar, its sharp teeth emitted a cold light, causing people's hearts to palpitate. However, in the face of such a ferocious beast, the burly men did not have the slightest trace of fear on their faces. Each of them tightly gripped their hoes and sickles as they confronted the beast. Roar! As if it saw more and more people watching, the ferocious beast's roar became more urgent. In the next moment, it went crazy and pounced on one of the burly men as if it did not care about its life. Swish! The burly man hurriedly swung the hoe in his hand, successfully leaving a large wound on the ferocious beast. Although the big man had injured the ferocious beast had successfully gotten close to the big man. It endured the pain and slapped the big man away. When the large man was sent flying, the vicious beast immediately found an opening in that direction. It roared and jumped up, its eyes faintly glowing with a bloody light. Looking at the ferocious beast that had escaped from the encirclement, the group of burly men's faces suddenly changed. As for the surrounding villagers, they saw a pitch-black and enormous beast figure explosively rush out from the flying sand. Roar! A powerful beastly roar rang out. It seemed to carry a terrifying might that could shake one's soul, causing everyone's thoughts to momentarily pause. Xiao He, who was facing the ferocious beast, looked at the ferocious beast that was pouncing towards her, and her delicate face instantly turned pale. In her line of sight, the sharp claws that flickered with a cold light were rapidly enlarging, getting closer and closer. The ferocious beast was very fast, and the wind pressure brought about by its enormous body swept away the dust on the ground. The biting cold wind from its claws seemed to have turned into a sharp blade, cutting through the air with a sizzling sound. It was about to tear Xiao He's delicate body into several pieces. Not good! Its target is Xiao He! Xiao He, dodge! It's over! It's too late! Looking at the direction where the ferocious beast's claws were swinging, the villagers who finally reacted cried out in alarm. Their voices were filled with panic and anxiety. It was as if they could already foresee the bloody scene that was about to happen to Xiao He. At this moment, Xiao He was in despair. Looking at the enormous figure that was getting closer and closer, Xiao He's petite body trembled continuously. In the end, she closed her eyes as if she had accepted her fate. Am I going to die like this? Sob, sob, being scratched by those claws must be very, very painful. It's a good thing that it chose me. If it was someone else, their family would definitely be very sad. Xiao He muttered to herself. Bam! However, just as Xiao He was feeling disheartened and all the villagers covered their eyes with their hands, unable to bear to see Xiao He being scratched to death, a low, muffled sound rang out. In the next moment, a scorching hot liquid splashed onto the faces of Xiao He and the villagers around her. Smelling the stench of blood and feeling the sticky liquid on their faces, Xiao He and the villagers opened their eyes again. With one look, they were all dumbfounded. Looking at the scene in front of them, they were all in a daze. Their mouths were wide open, as if they had turned into wooden men who could not think. The enormous ferocious beast was nowhere to be seen. All that was left was a ghastly pile of bloody mud. However, judging from the position of the bloody mud and the faintly visible bone fragments, they could tell that this was the ferocious beast from before. What's going on? Why did that beast suddenly become like this? The villagers came back to their senses and looked at each other in dismay. Xiao He, are you all right? The villagers came back to their senses and hurriedly asked. I'm fine. Xiao He was stunned and stammered. She was still in a state of shock. The immortals in heaven must be protecting us. He couldn't bear to see Xiao He being killed by that beast, so he sent down the punishment, a villager said. Then, the villagers knelt on the ground at the same time. They put their hands together and prayed to the sky with great devotion. Brother Chu, did you feel a gust of wind just now? It was when that ferocious beast pounced on you. Xiao He seemed to have thought of something. She stretched out her hand and pointed at the pile of flesh on the ground in front of her. Then, she looked at Chu Bei, who was sitting in the wheelchair closest to her. Just now, when the sharp claws were about to land on her body, she felt a sudden gust of wind behind her. Then, when she opened her eyes, the ferocious beast had turned into a bloody mud. There was no wind. You must have been mistaken. Chu Bei smiled knowingly. The death of the ferocious beast was naturally caused by him. That invisible force also burst out from his body. At that time, when he saw that the sharp claws were about to penetrate Xiao he was eager to stand up and kill the ferocious beast. However, no matter how much he shouted in his heart, he could only move his head. The majestic force in his body was not for him to use at all. However, just when he was unwilling to give up, a wisp of energy shot out from his body and killed the ferocious beast at the critical moment. Brother Chu, why are all the gauze wrapped around your body broken and falling off? Looking at the pile of rags under Chu Bei's wheelchair, Xiao He reacted with a puzzled look on her face. This. Chu Bei's expression froze. After hesitating for a moment, he hurriedly said, Maybe it was caused by the aftermath of the force that saved you. Then I'll bandage you again later. Xiao He said very seriously. Young friend, I originally wanted to give you a beast feast. But now it seems that we can only wait for the next opportunity. The village man patted Chu Bei's shoulder and began to clean up the flesh on the ground. Chapter 706. Time passed day by day. In the blink of an eye, Chu Bei had been in this small mountain village for 3 months. He was still sitting in a wheelchair. Only his head could move, and the energy in his body could not be mobilized. Every day, Xiao He pushed and served him. He did not know when it started, but he even forgot his identity as the owner of the All Heavens shop and really began to integrate into the life of this mountain village. Although the mountain village was remote, it was quiet. In addition, the village was simple and the villagers got along very warmly and harmoniously, giving Chu Bei a sense of home. Including the children and old women, there were 308 people in this village. In 3 months, Chu Bei had met all of them face to face and could call out each of their names. As for what he did every day, it was nothing more than telling the village children stories about the outside world. Sometimes, some adults would come to listen, but they would just laugh it off. Big Brother Chu, where did all these stories come from? Is the outside world really so big? And those immortals you mentioned, can they really destroy our broken Qi mountain with a single thought? Xiao He's mouth was wide open, and her little face was full of shock. The eyes of the group of children sitting around Chu Bei shone brightly. They supported their chins with their hands and stared at Chu Bei excitedly. If you believe it, it's true. If you don't, it's false. Chu Bei glanced at Xiao He and the group of children and pretended to be profound. Thud, thud, thud. Bandits are coming! Everyone, pick up your weapons! At this moment, there was a rush of horse hooves in the distance, followed by the frightened screams of the villagers. Looking over, in the direction of the village entrance, a black shadow was quickly approaching, bringing up a cloud of dust. After a while, the black shadow appeared in an open space at the entrance of the mountain village. As for the burly men in the village, they all picked up their hoes and sickles and gathered together. TSK, TSK, I didn't expect a mountain village to be hidden here. Haha, it seems that we're going to make a fortune again. Among the bandits, the leader was a stocky one-eyed man. There were several knife scars on his face, hands, and back. Obviously, he had experienced many fierce battles. Behind him, there were close to 30 bandits. All of them held large machetes in their hands and looked ferocious. Our village is very poor, please let us go. A burly man from the village stepped forward and looked at the one-eyed man in the lead with pleading eyes. Do you think I'll pity you? The one-eyed man in the lead grinned and sneered. He suddenly waved the machete in his hand, creating a sonic boom. With that, the one-eyed man waved his hand at the bandits behind him. The bandit who received the order immediately dismounted and rushed towards the burly villager. At the same time, the bandit waved the machete in his hand. In a few breaths, he had already arrived in front of the burly man and slashed at him. The villager's face suddenly changed, and he hurriedly raised his hoe to block. However, these bandits were obviously well trained, and the strength in their hands was not something the villagers could compare with. With a bang, the machete in his hand knocked away the hoe in the village man's hand. Chi la! The sharp tip of the machete cut across the burly man's chest, instantly creating a shocking wound. Blood flowed out. Under the huge impact, the burly man flew out as if he had been hit by a ferocious beast. He landed heavily on the ground. His face was pale, and he howled in pain. Blood stained the ground. Dishu! Father! A group of villagers hurriedly ran to the unconscious burly man and took out all kinds of bandages to stop his bleeding. Among these people, a 6 or 7-year-old chubby boy cried the most sadly. His eyes were red and swollen. "You are all bad people. You will be punished by the Celestial King and Celestial Emperor. They can kill you with just a thought." The chubby boy clenched his fists and stared at the bandits fiercely. "What Celestial King and Celestial Emperor? What nonsense!" The one-eyed man in the lead looked at the chubby boy with contempt. He waved to the 30 bandits behind him and said coldly, "Kill them all. Leave no one alive." Hearing the one-eyed man's words, the faces of the villagers turned gray. Fear appeared in their eyes. These bandits were very efficient. After receiving the one-eyed man's order, they did not hesitate at all. They immediately dismounted from their horses and charged at the villagers with machetes. Ah! Instantly, the villagers screamed in fear. Among them were the excited cries of the bandits, and the painful howls of the villagers. As the machetes in the hands of the bandits fell, more and more villagers fell. Blood gathered into a river and dyed the ground red. Fresh lives were turned into corpses. Some of them still had their eyes open, and their eyes were filled with hatred and anger towards the bandits. In the process of this massacre, there were also villagers who held sickles to resist. However, they were no match for these bandits who had been walking on the edge of the blade all year round. They were killed in a single blow. In the small mountain village, there were endless screams. The bandits slaughtered crazily. Their faces were filled with excitement, and their eyes were bloodthirsty. They ignored the villagers' pleas for mercy and swung their machetes again and again. The machetes were covered in blood. "None of you will have a good ending!" The villagers fled in panic and screamed angrily. However, they could not get rid of the machetes in the hands of the bandits, who caught up with them. "Big fool!" Looking at the big and tall corpse lying on the ground, Xiao He cried. However, she did not forget to push the wheelchair and tried her best to escape. Finally, a bandit targeted Xiao He after killing an old woman. He caught up with her in a few steps. In the laughter of cold in the forest, he raised his machete and swung it down. Xiao He fell into a pool of blood. The wheelchair was also kicked down by the bandit. "Brother Chu!" Xiao He's face became paler. Her white dress was cut open from the back. Blood flowed from the big wound and dyed Chu Bei's body. Even at this time, her hands were still firmly grasping the wheelchair's handle and did not let go. As time went by, more and more villagers fell into the pool of blood. After a while they died. The air was filled with the pungent smell of blood. It was nauseating. Gradually, the open space became quiet. As far as the eye could see, the villagers had all fallen. Only a few were dying. They were not far from death. "Boss, it's all done!" A bandit licked the blood on his machete. After kicking away the old woman he had just killed, he put away his machete and looked at the one-eyed man who was the leader. "There is still a fish that escaped the net. A paralyzed good-for-nothing." A bandit in red pointed his machete at Chu Bei and said to the other bandits, "Then what are you waiting for? Don't tell me you pity him?" Another bandit laughed and said, "He is under my machete. There is no such thing as pity." The bandit in red laughed. However, just as he was about to swing his machete and meet Chu Bei's eyes, his body inexplicably shivered and a chill rose. Chapter 707. He had killed no less than 100 people, but he had never seen anyone who was as calm as Chu Bei before death. There was no fear on his face, and he was incomparably calm. He was so calm that he could not describe it. Lin Fan looked at him quietly. There was no anger in his eyes. There was only an indescribable indifference, as if he was already dead. "Why aren't you attacking?" the one-eyed leader on the horse said coldly. Hearing the leader's words, the bandit in red came back to his senses. He glared at Chu Bei fiercely and said, "Damn it, what's with that look?" After saying that, the bandit in red swung his knife at Chubei. Clang! However, just as the blade in the red-clothed bandit's hand was about to land on Chubei's neck, there was a clear clang. The machete seemed to have been hit by an invisible shockwave and shattered into thousands of pieces. The next moment, before the bandit in red could react, the invisible shockwave engulfed his body and turned his clothes into a bloody mess. What's going on? Why did Crimson 9 die all of a sudden? What happened to him? Witnessing this scene, all the bandits were stunned. Their eyes widened as they stared at the bloody mess on the ground. Their eyes were filled with fear of the unknown. Even the one-eyed leader unsheathed the knife at his waist. He was extremely vigilant. One of them is related to that paralyzed trash. Yes, it must be him. Crimson 9 wanted to kill him just now. He knows sorcery. He killed Crimson 9. Who's going to avenge Crimson 9? His sorcery can only be used once. The bandits focused their attention on Chubei. Their suspicions were mixed with hatred, but no one dared to step forward. All of you, attack together! The one-eyed leader said coldly as he glanced at the bandits closest to Chubei. The 6 bandits who received the one-eyed man's order looked at each other. After communicating with their eyes, they walked toward Chubei with their knives in hand. Kill! Avenge Crimson 9! 6 bandits surrounded Chubei. Amidst their shouts, they chopped down with their machetes. Bang! A similar scene played out again. Before the 6 bandits' machetes could even touch Chubei's body, it was as if they had come into contact with some kind of terrifying taboo. Under an invisible force, their bodies exploded one by one, turning into a rain of blood that filled the sky. Dead again. Something's wrong. That guy really knows sorcery. You can't go any further. This time, the fear on the faces of the bandits became even more apparent. Those who were slightly closer to Chubei could not help but take a few steps back. Retreat! The one-eyed man in the lead was obviously frightened. After glancing at Chubei again, he hesitated for a moment and made a gesture to retreat. Ta ta ta! Soon, the sound of horses galloping could be heard. The bandits turned around and left. Looking at the backs of these bandits, Chubei was expressionless. There was no anger, no roar, only an abnormal calmness. But when his gaze fell on the bloodless face of Xiao He, there was an obvious change in his eyes, which were like stagnant water. Looking at the corpses around him, every detail of the past 3 months in the village appeared in his mind. Scenes kept flashing through his mind. In the end, Chubei closed his eyes and let the pungent smell of blood in the air linger at the tip of his nose. He let the blood on the ground soak into his body. It started to rain. Perhaps it was the mercy of the heavens, but the rain became heavier and heavier, causing landslides to occur. Rolling mud and stones poured down like a river, covering the corpses one after another. Spring went and autumn came. Chubei did not know how long he had been buried in the mud. He was still unable to mobilize his strength, and the system did not respond. As for his body, except for his neck and above, he could not move any part of his body. Until one day. Mother, why did you stop? This was a group of foxes. To be exact, a group of foxes that could speak human language. There's the breath of a living creature below. The leading fox stretched out its claws and pointed at its feet. A living creature? Could it be a sleeping great demon? A little fat fox shrunk its neck. Mother, let's go quickly. Otherwise, what if it breaks through the mud and eats us? Silly child, his breath is very weak. It's not even as strong as you. The leading fox smiled, then its tail danced as if it was accumulating power. Boom! The fox's tail fell to the ground, accompanied by a loud explosion, and a black shadow broke through the ground. Mother, look! He's out! He's a human! Seeing Chubei's appearance, the little fox screamed out. The leading big fox was stunned, but soon calmed down. We are the fiery fox clan of the Chiduan mountain range. Who are you? Why are you buried underground? Chubei glanced at the foxes indifferently. There was no joy on his face, and his expression did not change at all. "Mother, he's mute." The little fat fox pointed at Chubei and said. Deep in the Chiduan mountain range, the expressionless Chubei's eyes suddenly twitched slightly. "What's going on? Intuition?" Chubei seemed to realize something and muttered. Inexplicably, he felt a pain in his heart. He was blown out of the ground by the fiery fox, and was finally taken away by the other party's demonic arts. But before they could go far, the group of fiery fox encountered their natural enemy in the mountain. In the battle, Chubei witnessed the greatness of a mother's love. Even in the demon fox clan, in order to protect her child, a mother did not hesitate to use her life to delay her natural enemy, just to give her child enough time to escape. The leading fiery fox was brutally killed by its natural enemy, and the group of young fiery fox fled sobbing, leaving Chubei behind. Time passed, and the continents collided. Not long after, the Chiduan mountain disappeared. In the chaos, Chubei experienced one unfamiliar place after another. 10 years, 100 years, 1,000 years, 10,000 years, the world changed. During these years, Chubei's body was still in the same condition. He had witnessed the killing of tens of millions of troops on the battlefield, witnessed the separation of families, witnessed the separation of life and death, and seen too much. Chaotic great heaven's domain. In the 88th year since Chubei disappeared, Xiaoyan entered the immortal emperor realm, truly stepping into the great heaven's domain and guarding the great heaven's store. In the same year, Yifan, Chen Nan, Tang San, and Shi Hao also entered the immortal emperor realm and gathered in the great heaven's store. Sun Wukong, Zhu Beiji, Golden Cicada, San Monk, and Ao Lai broke through at the same time, crossing the final hurdle and becoming immortal emperors. In the 89th year, the ancient dragon Phoenix also broke through again, becoming the 12th immortal emperor after Chubei, Xiaoyan, and the others. "Is there still no news of Master?" In the great heaven store's main hall, a group of disciples gathered together. "No. But I still don't believe that Master has fallen." "That's right. With Master's divine abilities, forget about killing him. A trifling emperor artifact might not even be able to injure him. There will be a day when we can find Master." Xiaoyan, Yifan, Shi Hao, and the others' eyes were incomparably resolute. There were men and women, old and young, but they were all very peaceful. There was no killing intent, nor were there any disputes. They all carried satisfied smiles as they chatted. There were numerous jade tables and chairs on the island, and all sorts of fruits and fine wine were placed on them. All of them were rare immortal treasures. The white mist flowed and submerged the kneecaps of these people. The immortal lotus bloomed and took root in the void. Whether it was the leaves or the flowers, they were all golden and contained Emperor Dao runes. On the immortal island, divine beasts could be seen everywhere. There was a 7-colored divine deer with a jade plate on its head, offering fruits to everyone. There was a white ape with Emperor Dao runes doing its job and pouring wine for everyone. Even the weakest divine beast had the strength of an immortal king. At a glance, this was more like a gathering of supreme experts. It was far away from the hustle and bustle of the mortal world, and was peaceful. Looking at the people on the immortal island, Chubei's state of mind that had been calm for countless years was suddenly shattered. These immortal emperors on the island were the ones who were with him. Unfortunately, these people seemed to not notice Chubei's existence, or perhaps they just ignored him. Could it all be an illusion? Chubei sensed that something was wrong. No matter how loudly he shouted, the people on the immortal island wouldn't even look at him. He began to doubt whether what he saw was real or fake. Chi! Suddenly, above the bamboo sea, immortal clouds and auspicious light shone brightly. In the distant sky, a dazzling golden path extended rapidly and landed on the immortal island. Then, a hazy figure whose face couldn't be seen clearly appeared. He was silent, but there was a majestic aura around him as he walked on the dazzling path. Blue Spear Emperor! On the Immortal Island, a group of experts stood up to welcome him. The appearance of this figure caused a series of exclamations. Chu Bei's gaze was also fixed on this figure. The other party's aura fluctuation had actually entered the 9 stars Immortal Emperor realm. After this figure, the sky was inexplicably filled with raging flames. Then, several divine rainbows streaked across the sky like shooting stars. The light was so dazzling that it was difficult to open one's eyes. It must be the Inferno Emperor! Billions of years have passed, but he is still as naughty as a child. Someone on the Immortal Island laughed. In the next moment, a burst of laughter came from the raging flames. A red-haired old man appeared. He waved his hand and all the blazing flames disappeared. Then, he sat down on the Immortal Island. It's another 9 stars Immortal Emperor! Chu Bei glanced at the red-haired old man. After determining his cultivation level, he couldn't help but gasp. Even in the chaotic lands, 9 stars Immortal Emperors were already in the top 3 of the total Immortal Emperor rankings. They were supreme figures who were on par with the Origin Emperor. But here, Chu Bei actually saw 2 of them all at once. Where exactly is this place? Chu Bei couldn't calm down. Then, with a thought, his body actually moved again. Chu Bei came to the Immortal Island and even floated around these experts. However, no matter how he swayed in front of these experts, they didn't even look at him. At this point, he was completely sure that even 9 stars Immortal Emperors couldn't detect his presence. As he floated around these experts, Chu Bei realized that these experts gathered together to discuss the Tao of cultivation. These experts didn't forget to make some gestures as they discussed the Tao. A female Immortal Emperor stretched out her slender hand. Her fingertips glowed. With a whoosh, a seed shot out. It took root and sprouted in the void, releasing an ancient and mysterious aura. It was a Tao seed. It evolved in the void, absorbed supreme power, and then released the aura of the great Tao. Another Immortal Emperor made a move. He shot out a bolt of lightning with a flick of his finger. It was simple and direct. The thunder rumbled and turned into a pagoda. It hummed faintly and wrapped around endless stars. On the Immortal Tao, various Emperor techniques evolved layer by layer. A group of experts discussed the Tao and exchanged pointers. During this process, Chu Bei continued to observe, and his expression changed continuously. Every expert seemed to represent a different cultivation system from a different time and space. Each of them had their own mysteries, causing Chu Bei to be moved and shocked. Perhaps because he was immersed in the past, Chu Bei didn't even realize that while he was observing the Emperor Tao of these Immortal Emperors, the sealed energy in his body was slowly reconnecting with his divine consciousness. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.